Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Knowles, also known as AKA Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all of your relatives and all of your relations will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. My hair is a mess. I hope all of you are doing as well as possible in these weird and freaky times. And hi, Travis. Hello, hello, hello. And yes, it's a bad thing about books. And was a tornado or something ripped off the roof, or how did the books get wet and destroyed? We've had floods down here and things where some of the local libraries in Albany, where a lot of the books were destroyed. They couldn't save them. But anyway, this is actually Friday now, the 12th of an excavator. Holy crap. Well, that's bad enough. Anything like that is rough for sure. Yep, it's the 12th. Right, right. I had to look at the bottom here. And yeah. Hello, Michelle. How are you? Oh man, that's a shame. Sometimes they just can't see the value in saving anything, and they just tear stuff down. Um, I'm still sort of eating supper. And think of the accumulated knowledge that was destroyed by those books. But you got an 1897 Andrew Jackson book. Hey, Greenie Houdini, how are you? My topic for tonight, kind of, sort of, um, is a shaman's journey. Hey, Chloe, I missed you all too. That's why I'm here. Um, I have been doing some serious concrete work here these last few nights, and so I have been out of pocket, working my butt off. I mean, I got a lot done, let me tell you. But so that's all good for me. But in thinking about stuff while I was working, and scanning the news as I do and watching things, there are folks who, after, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years, are still saying that the rapture is going to happen any minute now. And some of these folks are pastors, okay, and they've got flocks of people or whatever. And I consider you my friends. I do not consider you my flock by any stretch of the imagination. I know some of us are a little bird brainy, but that's just to be said. But that these folks who are claim to be preachers and men of God and so forth, and they read the scripture and everything. Um, they have been preaching for the last several years now, really hard. Much love to you, Michelle. The other day, and I can't remember which day it was, but I was like, you were really strong on my mind, and I just sent prayers back for whatever it was. So, but anyway, hope you're doing okay. I was very much concerned, but up to my arms in cement, literally. But anyway, so I don't profess to be any kind of a preacher or anything. And, as my shaman's journey, and not everybody's life journey is to be a shaman, or shaman like or anything like it. Favor, open think, how are you? Me, hi, how are you? So this is relegated. I was thinking as I was putting the title up, people are going to think, well, I don't want to be no damn shaman. I'm not a shaman. I'm just a person, right? Well, but so am I. Now, hey, David Castle, I didn't say hi to you. Sorry, I missed you. But this is for everybody that's on a spiritual journey. It isn't just me or whatever. And you don't have to be a shaman or trying to be a shaman in order to understand these basic things. But for these folks who have been here, here's my point about these pastors. Now, I got to say, God bless them. They're trying, okay? And they've had visions, and some of them have had near death experiences and have come back, and it's all about the rapture, and it's all about the this, and it's all of the, this kind of thing. And it's like, here's my point about this. So, if the rapture was going to happen after about 4 or 5 or 6 years, wouldn't you kind of give it a break, you know? But how are you supposed to get people to join your club unless you use some kind of fear factor, right? So it's the climate change. It's the, society's changing. All of these things are happening. There's war, there's famine, there's, craziness going on. And, in my lifetime, 69 years, my continuing rolling joke, is that things are really strange right now. My closest I can relate this to was back in the 60s and early 70s with the hippie movement and the Kennedys being shot and Martin Luther King and all that stuff, and, it's not the same by any stretch, but it seems just as serious, okay, from my point of view. But with that said, though, each of us is trying to find their own spiritualness in all of this, right? So it has been mentioned to me, and I have kind of noticed there are folks out there, claiming to be shamans and all of this kind of really new age stuff. I try not to speak down about it, but some of this stuff is just piffle. Okay. I mean, there are a lot of other words I could use, but piffle seems to be the right one right now. And what I mean is that you have to, and I've talked about this before, but it needs to be brought up again that, if you don't follow certain procedures, you ain't going to get there. And oh, you got to have a wand, and oh, you got to have a crystal, and oh, you got to have this. You can still be very spiritual and have none of the above. Okay. Your connection with the universe is between you and the universe. So, for the Christians and the pastors and all the rapture, they're selling you the Bible, right? You got to have the Bible. If you don't have Jesus Christ in your life, you are doomed for eternity, right? You will walk the gates of hell. St. Peter ain't going to let you in, and all that kind of stuff. And for for me, the journey is, as I've spoke about many times, it's not the book or the religion that will save you from whatever it is that we need to be saved from. Okay. I still haven't figured that one out yet. What are we? We're being. Should we be saved from ourselves? But in the general rule, the in the law of one, and not to name drop or anything, but the other David that does shows on, who's supposedly the reincarnation of Casey. I can't remember his last name at the moment, but um, that's that's good, Mimi. So, David Wilcox. Thank you, Michelle. If you come up with the name here, I'll know that. See, I was connected, with the mind meld thing. But the law of one, and that's basically the rule of many native peoples and stuff, is that you just do no harm to anyone or anything. Okay. It's a very simple, easy to learn law, rule. Okay. But if you understand it completely, blue avians, but relational. So I don't want to kick Christians or any religion, okay? But there's only one way, and there's only, you have to follow the book, and you got to follow the rules, and some of the rules are just so inane and just crazy, right? But if you follow the law of one, regardless of your religion, regardless of your sex, creed, or whatever, right? That you can't go wrong with that. I mean, because it encompasses all kinds of things. So in the religious, I can hear it in my head, but I can't say it. Religiosity of the world. There's only one way that you can be saved, and we still don't know from what. Hellfire and damnation. Yeah, the Corey Good thing years ago when he first came out, and I just went from like what to no. There's a lot of good stuff that David Wilcox has talked about and discussed over the years that I think has value. Okay, but all this Mars and things and stuff, just hellfire damnation. Uh, so what we consider as hellfire and damnation might be something different to somebody else. But anyway, so, they don't give you like, oh, you've got these 10 commandments when many of them relate just to God, right? And they honor your father and mother. Well, what about the rest of society? So there are so many holes in the Christian idea of certain beliefs that if you take the law of one into consideration as just a basic core belief, regardless of religion or whatever, you'll realize that the Ten Commandments is just a bunch of hooey. In that the law of one covers more than the Ten Commandments, and it doesn't bring any kind of deity or worship into it. Okay, it just says honor and respect all things, do no harm to all things, everything, plants, trees, rocks, the air, the universe, you, me, So, um, but with the Christian Bible thing, they always have to go, well, Paul said this about that. Okay, we want to find our own spiritual journey. We need to find out what our core value is. You hear me talk about it all the time. But our core value is who we are. That's what makes us who we are. That's our core value. Um, I'm a straight white man. Well, actually, I'm, just sort of pale in color. But, I'm not Caucasian. I'm Native American. I'm sorry, I had to take a 20 break. Again, it's not external. That is. So, but the understanding of the universe, though, they overcomplicate it with religiosity, and to the point where they make it to where you're not going to make it unless you have got to be so good, you've got to be. But every single one of us dies. Every single one of us makes that transition. Now, what happens on the other side is still kind of speculation by a lot of us. I know I've had my near death experiences. I've had my, astral projections and trips and things. I know I've had 3 days in the swamp when the spirits took me off, and I still don't understand all that, nor why they, brought me back. But in the grand scheme of things, though, these quote, some of these newly professed shamans have had some kind of ayahuasca or some kind of DMT experience, and they've talked to God, and somehow they know all the answers of the universe. Well, in my 69 years, see, I'm bringing it up again, of travel and learning and a lot of mistakes along the way, I'm like, I try to listen to some of these folks, and all it is what it's just to me there's no sustenance in what they speak of. Well, I talked to, this, entity in the universe, and it was like, okay. And they told me this and that and this and that. Okay, groovy. I've had conversations like that too. But let's boil it down to what does it mean for you and me right now in this plane of reality? Forget about the matrix and all this kind of stuff. If you want to believe you're a part of it, then that means you are. I'm not a part of the matrix. I'm a part of the natural matrix of things, Mother Nature and order and that kind of thing. But if you want to consider yourself a part of the matrix and all of this stuff and you want to go there, hey Delaney, how are you? So we can create our own hell right here on earth, and we can create our own turmoil, and there are other people who are trying to do that for us anyway. It's hard enough for us to stay focused. So but in this shaman journey, and speaking about myself, but some other really what I considered really spiritual people, really holy people. I mean, there was just a countenance about them that you were just like, this person's just great. I just want to sit next to them, and not necessarily talk. I just want to share the same space with them. And um, when you can share that kind of experience with another person and not have to exchange words, it's a profound thing, all right? But for those people who have never experienced anything like that, they can only guess and communicate, stuff like that. And you don't have to be high to experience it. And I keep referring back to that last powwow I went to and seeing this one gentleman who looked a lot like me with his walking stick and his stuff, and we just looked at each other and smiled, and there was an eternity of stuff that was communicated with our eyes as he walked by and as I passed by. And I have talked about this before, but I, after all these years, I still remember that contact. We never spoke, we nodded, we smiled, we glinted each other's eyes, and there was simply just a knowing. Okay, a knowing. The cards that I pulled, talk about, and I think it's the bear card, but talk about the knowing in the universe. You have experienced something, you have seen something, and you know it. No matter what happens with anybody, no matter who tells you what or whatever, there's these things that we know from experience that has been so profound to us. Was it a religious experience or whatever? Okay. Was it an aha moment? Okay. A sudden realization that, oh my God, I just experienced this thing, and it's so different from, oh my God, So that an OMG moment, right? So, and all of those are good. Don't get me wrong. But in this understanding of it, so for each of us, in this way, we are on our own shaman journey. And for the shaman journey, it's about being truthful. It's about being honest. It's about the spiritual journey, as well as the mental journey, as well as the historical journey of learning who we were, who we are, and where we might be in the future, what our hopes are, our projections for humanity. And I look around now and you go, I don't know if there's any damn hope for humanity or not. These crazy damn sons of bitches out here, you go, what's wrong with these people? And, but in our journey, what it is that for us to learn about spirituality, regardless of what religion or faith or whatever. But it's included. So the more we learn about ourselves and we be true to our nature. And if we're good people, then we're still good people. If we're kind, we're still kind. Now, for me, I was too loud. I was too boisterous. And I had a lot of calming down to do. I had a lot of slowing down and understanding and patience. And, so each person has their own idiosyncrasies they need to learn to live with in this life, following the number one rule, which is be respectful, kind, and to do no harm, right? I mean, well, it's sort of like three words in there, but it's to do no harm. But if you don't do any harm, then you kind of sort of are automatically being honorable and truthful, you see. Because if you're false all the time and telling stories for the fact of just telling stories, but to tell stories and be a liar all the time and to create falseness in your life and you project it onto other people, that's really not good, right? Not in the long run. So what does this mean for our spirits? It means that as we meet other people, whatever their trauma, whatever they're dealing with, you know uh, we try to show kindness and whatever we can to them, all right? Without being plastic about it. Well, the creator said I got to be nice to you, so I will. No, it should be more than that. You should be able to understand that I, as a human being, feel compassion for another human being or human beings, plural, or hybrids or aliens or whoever these folks might be. I will honor them and respect them as long. Now, this goes two ways. So, if they're dishonorable and disrespectful to me and are shooting bullets at me, do I just stand up and go, well, okay, guys, I'm sorry that we got up on the wrong foot, but they're shooting at you still, live rounds, no rubber bullets here, which can still freaking hurt. So you say, well, wait a minute now, but I want to be kind. I don't want to hurt these people. But now there is self defense, right? Like, wait a minute. Do I stand here and let these people chop me into little pieces? Or do I say, yeah, that's enough, right? Oh, did that sound Russian? Oh, are you Russian here or Russian there? But anyway. So, but in this understanding of the shaman within us all, and our life is a journey. So, does that mean that each of us are on our own shaman journeys? The answer is yeah, it's spiritual journey. But for some of these faux, fake, new age shaman folks, their their trueness, in my humble opinion, seems to be very shallow, because they barely scratch the surface. Well, if you do like this, and the creator, God will look down upon you, and you'll be, you're a god and a goddess, and we can manifest what we want. Then how come you're still living out the back of your truck or You live in a van down by the river. But it's okay. Or you're living in your parents' basement, or you and your, oh, I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. But your life experiences aren't what a lot of others of us have had. So, but they've done DMT, they've done a hit of acid or maybe some peyote or something, and all of a sudden now they have talked to God and they're now a shaman. Okay. It took me 55, almost 60 years for me to use that word for myself. And I am a shaman in training, meaning I am seeking truth, I'm seeking knowledge, both physical, mental, and spiritual. Okay. And the more that I learn, the more that I accept, the more that I see things spiritually, the more I also understand my role in this, right? Even as a shaman in training. And even if I didn't use the word shaman, you could say, well, as an elder. Okay. All right. That works too. And at 69, I'm sorry, but I've really pushed that lately. It's still humorous to me. But anyway, forgive me. An old man's minor pleasure. But the idea, though, that if we pursue the law of one, if we pursue respect, we give people respect, we honor them. If they don't give it back, then we just kind of withdraw. We don't have to like chalk them off the list. We don't have to, spit at them and make rude remarks. Um, but at the same time, we don't cower to them. We just say, okay, that's your opinion. Talk to you later, and just, go another direction, right? So, but honor. So you honor their point of view. You just don't accept it as your point of view. You know what I mean? Well, Hitler had a really strange point of view, and I will honor him for his point of view, but I still think it all sucked. Okay. So, but where do you get in that? Yeah, well, he's, the old expression, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, right? And some people, I swear, they got holes all over them because they got opinions coming out every orifice on their body. And I think they've included a few orifices, like armpits, maybe. But anyway, so this understanding of truth. So there's some truth that are coming out now. There's some things that to some people should be quite god dog obvious, like, that guy that's supposed to be the prez, like who is running this joint? Seriously, and if you're worried about it by now, I've realized it way back when, right? And I have to just laugh, and people go, "Well, look what he's done now." I'm like, wait a minute, you didn't expect this? You didn't see this coming? The truth will set you free and it will make you bat crap cray cray. So here's this thing about the truth and knowledge and honoring people and whatever. And I was having a conversation earlier with a friend of mine, and we were talking about rehabilitating people, right? And that, the Johan, how are you? Have I missed anybody? Um, each perspective is different, right? But so we were having this conversation about people in jail. If society treated prisoners differently, then they could be rehabilitated. And I as I was listening to this from my friend, I started laughing. And not about him, but about the fact that I have been in jail. I have been locked up with murderers and rapists and baby rapists and cutthroats and you name it, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, out of all those guys I knew, there were some of them that could have been rehabilitated, but they had a drinking problem or something like that, which kept landed them back in jail. There were some folks who were just, like to gamble, whatever, and get drunk and get into fisticuffs. Okay, well, and that lands them in jail. And then there are those folks who like commit crimes. Well, there's the petty theft. Okay, that could be rehabilitated if someone was given a decent job and felt honorable and but they have to all of these things though require one major thing. They got to want to change. Okay? So in looking at the folks the hundreds of guys that I met in prison, and traveling the floors and talking to people in the different cells, as a trustee and all, I'm like, there are some people, unfortunately, that need to be locked up. To say that we can say we're going to rehabilitate this person, and we're going to give them a job, we're going to do all this stuff, but you're not going to be able to change their core in here, kind of thing. Now, that's something we just need to, as a society, understand. Now, could we do better than just house them in cages? I have long believed that. But at the same point, we have to understand that sometimes there are just somebody's just crazy. And that's the truth. They're just nuts. And there's all, well, we can rehabilitate them, we can give them drugs, we can do this, we can do that, and they still end up being crazy. Okay, I've been in the crazy house too, and the 3 days that I was there was a lifetime. And I thought to myself, for many years it really changed my opinion of me, right? In that I thought I was crazy. And then I met some really crazy people in the crazy house. And I went, oh, holy shit. I'm not crazy at all. I'm just confused. These people are nuts, okay? And they need to have medicine. They need to be locked up, but not necessarily the way they were being treated and probably still are being treated. We as a society could be more humane but can they be rehabilitated back into society? Yeah, I don't think so. And I'm being honest, there are just some folks that ain't gonna get there. Not everybody is a rocket scientist, okay? Not everyone understands quantum physics. Not everyone can bake a cake. I'm one of them, right? But I've met some farmers who were not physicists, but were damn good mechanics, were really quick, could fix anything, and, were very intelligent in that way. Give them a piece of paper and a pencil and ask them to write. They ain't got it, but they can figure in their head and go out in the shop and do stuff. You know what I mean? So intelligence also is depends on what you mean by intelligence or what you mean by learning or you know what I mean? So um society likes to grade people over the years, if you've been to college, if you have graduated high school, now you can do college and everything online. You don't even have to go to the place, but you still have to learn the criteria. Well, I did that years ago as a mail order, and got my degree, bachelor, well, 2 year degree in forestry, you see, and civil culture. And it took me almost 2 years to take the course and to do the mail order correspondence and all that kind of stuff. And but the thing is that what I learned from it, regardless of whether I actually got a job in it, is still invaluable knowledge to me. So regardless of whether or not you get a degree, the knowledge that you can attain by simply reading a book or the Late Night Soul Tribe was voted 41 on being the coolest, grooviest members of this. True story. That's funny, David. In one of the Moorhead State University was every day was very interesting. Yeah, wisdom. So that accumulated knowledge we get, but also, as you hear me say, that you accept and receive the knowledge and the healing and the wisdom and the blessings from the universe, right? Um, because is stuff out there if you just close your eyes and you allow yourself to know these things. But so for the shaman now, some of these folks are, teaching, oh, use a crystal, or oh, do this, or oh, do that, but they're not really given any basic instruction as to how to better, how someone can better themselves, without going to a lot of stuff, right? Oh, well, you got to light a candle, and oh, you got to do this, and now you got to recite these same words every day. Just like I said, every time, or it's not going to work. That's not necessarily true. Okay. But I say this every morning. Okay, that's okay if you do. There are people who have morning prayers and stuff. Nothing wrong with it. But here's the thing: there are some people who are like, "Well, what if I skip a day? Oh, you're going to hell." It's almost as bad as some of these Christian preachers. No, you must follow the instructions to the letter. No fudging allowed. Where maybe fudging is should be allowed and is sometimes even necessary. Okay, it's 1:08 in the morning time here on Friday, 11/12, 2021. I am your continuing host for the Late Night Soul Tribe, and for those members of the League of Like-Minded Beings, we're here tonight discussing the shaman in training and what does it mean for our society now and in the future. Well, for every single one of us here, and I notice with you all, because you do it, much love, favor, help, you all give each other prayers. And that's part of the soul tribe. That's part of the League of Like-Minded Beings, right? And we're trying to share the basic knowledge of peace and love and happiness. And let's see where we can go with that, right? And we're trying to be teachers in that, because there's something about it, and probably each one of you know in your own way, that once you get to a certain point, you have to tell somebody else. You have to show somebody else. Or, the subject of religion comes up and you go, well, I don't know if I believe in this, gated community called heaven, but it's all right if you do. But my idea of heaven is to be a free spirit in the universe, and not really go any further, but just kind of blurt that out to a Christian who's thinking about going to that gated community, and it's got to have a special pass to get in, kind of thing, where all of us are going to be a part, are still a part of the universe. And then when we pass away and make that journey to the other side, we will all understand more about what it's all about again. So, in the wisdom of things, we try to remember by knowing and going within who we were previously, right? Well, there's so many people. Well, I was in King Arthur's court. Well, I was this. Well, I was that. Well, I was a pauper, okay? I lived in the woods and off the land. I was a survivor. But at the same time, at some point in my life, whether I was in knight in shining armor, it was probably rusty and I got chafed a lot. But I knew how. Somebody taught me how to use a sword, right? And I sword I'd never. But to that point though, the same thing with archery. There's certain things I've talked about before that in my previous life I know way too much about this without having had any formal training in this life. But I still know it. I still have a feeling it's still there. It's still part of my core soul value from a previous, and quite possibly many previous lives. I've probably have been filled with arrows, from oncoming, attacks or whatever in a previous life. And but what was I some sort of king or something? But anyway, back when folks were talking about their previous lives, everybody had to be a king or a queen or they were a something. Nobody was talking about I was the local blacksmith, you know, or I was the local hairdresser, or I was the local goatsmith. It's what? Yeah, it is, Johan. But my point is there though that there are other people that everybody's got talents from previous lives, right? I'm just talking about mine, right? That have popped up over the years. But for other people, everybody's got a prehistory before now. And so when we close our eyes and allow, well, I've always had this thing or blah, 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 blah. There are some people that can climb up the side of the mountain. In my younger days, I've tried it. Now I won't go near it, right? Um, you was a leper? Yeah, it's not my first time at the rodeo. You still can't spell? Well, I was going to say I have done spells, and those spells will keep you from spelling. But anyway, but yeah, and here's the thing, and listen to some of these folks who have had these experiences. Now, I'm not trying to, diminish their experiences, but that it's that all of a sudden they got all this knowledge, and they ain't really had enough time to regurgitate it. They need to, like cows do, they need to chew their cud. They need to take the information that they seem to have had these chats with God. Hey, Tracy B, I just ran out of gas like a dumb nose tour. You're good chilling. Well, Tracy B, what a situation we get ourselves into, right? But so and I've had some people have this discussion with me. They go, Dave, Hawkeye, that they claim to be shamans and they seem to be so shallow and like, oh really? And so they're giving me their opinion of these other people, and that's hard for me to you have to try to give everybody a chance. So I give some of these folks a chance, listening or whatever, and it's just like, oh my goodness, it's just so much poppycock. I just literally, I can't stand it. I get prickly thingies on me, and I just, and I think, Lord have mercy, at least you're trying. You know what I mean? I can't send you $5, uh, but my friend who was here got a pack of cigarettes from me, and I got $5. $5 if I could send it through the internet, I would. But anyway, so in this understanding of things about yourself, whether and for those who are claiming to be shamans or whatever, okie doke. But I think what it's doing to those folks who have never thought about calling themselves a shaman realize that these folks, wait a minute, they're claiming to be a shaman, but they're looking at themselves and their own spiritual journey and go, hang on a minute, I'm as qualified as these people are, right? That I went through a similar situation, right? In that well, I'm not a priest, I'm not a monk per se. I am a hermit that's, with a good in that respect. But what does a hermit mean? It's some old cranky person, male or female now. But they used to call men the hermits and the women were witches. Okay. Well, there's this old lady. We think she's a witch, but anyway. Hey, Katniss, how are you? Good morning to you as well. We got 3 minutes, maybe two. And I'm actually going to start 2 minutes early. I got my bowl here that I was ready to do way early, way before. But so for each of us, as we learn things, then we are the natural order of things should be to help others that are struggling spiritually or whatever, and that we do the best we can to help along. So um, Tracy B, anytime any of y'all come in here and need something now, all you need to do is speak up. I think all of us would agree to that, um, especially our dear friends. I mean, but anyway, yeah, don't feel that way to any of yous. This is my house, but it's your house too. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, um, and poor, pitiful me. That we help each other out as much as we can. And we have. Each of us, in some way or another, has contributed to the whole. And I just think that's a blessing, right? So I use the word shaman in the title of this because it's like spiritual person. Now, I don't really consider myself much as a spiritual leader, as just as a guide, right? Leader, that really doesn't fit me in that respect. Although there, over the years, many people have looked at me as that. That's their opinion, okay? But I'm here, as I think each one of us now. Um, you're right, Tracy B. It just is. That's exactly right. So and I would expect, here's another thing about this. If someone needs help and comes into the house with all of us and doesn't say, "Look, I'm having trouble here. I need some help," you know, M- most of you are gracious enough in how you approach things and are very leery to like bring up, well, for whatever it is, I might say, "Look, I need a prayer for today. All right. I need 10 seconds of energy. If you got it to spare, just shoot it my way." But I don't give you a reason. All right. I just say, look, I could use a little extra energy or a prayer or a thought today. Now it'd be up to me whether or not I want to share what I needed for it, right? But the last couple of days, I was looking up at the universe going, I really need y'all's help to help me. Oh, by the way, my cement mixer works really well. And I have poured a bunch of cement and got another decent stretch on my foundation and everything on the porch. It's coming along quite nicely. I was going to do another batch of brickwork today, but we've had rain. So, but anyway, a short update in the middle of this, right? It's a 21. Oh, I missed it, but I started early and now I'm a minute late. But so we say, hey, look, genuinely, can I help you? Well, what is your issue? Maybe you can call me on the phone and we'll talk about it, or send me an email or something, right? And we already do this with each other. And I just think that is a phenomenal thing. So each one of you has become a shaman in training in my definition of it, right? In my world, the shaman in training is anyone who's trying to be learn how to be spiritual and how to learn to deal properly with the physicality of this world. Because shamans in the true shamans from the old days would heal and bring counsel to every member of the tribe and who needed it. And sometimes they would give counsel even when some folks didn't want to listen, you know. But it's to give counsel, right? The guidance is for here's the guidance that I would give you. It's up to you to use it, take it, acknowledge it, or blow it off, you know. And no matter what you do with it, I I don't mean this in disrespect, but I can't hold on to it so it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter in a way that I would hope that these conversations that we have matter to you in that it helps enrich your life. You meet with other people, we share the experience, you know, and to that end, I I see you all reacting in your own ways and how you speak to one another. And that XX77, how are you? And hope you're doing well. But so in greeting each other and sharing this, overall psychic energy and this social energy that we share between us, that's just cool, right? So, but it isn't about who are we following? Nobody. We're following their creator. And what do you mean by that, Hawkeye? The creator said, that if you just stop and pray and join hands, and then we work together, all the stories about the animals and stuff is about the in the end, it's about the cooperation. How these critters stole fire from the bear, right? There was a story I read uh, I say recently, on Milky Way Soul Tribe, on the stories, and one of them was about how the other animals got together and climbed up this mountain and went up into the clouds and found bear and in there in the cave with all the fire they was hoarding the warmth, right? And so how they went in and plotted this thing, but one animal couldn't have done it. It was this consolidation of different critters who went and stole fire and brought it down to earth to all the other creatures. So you say, well, what does that mean? But in all of these stories and legends and so forth, it there are those tragic stories that just end pitifully, right? Um, but then there are the stories where through great strife or trouble or some kind of misunderstanding or whatever, that in that the two opposing or whatever learn from each other, and from their experience sometime they learn how to work together. And so many of these stories and stuff that are movies and TV programs, it's all about strife between peoples, right? But in the end, it's how they can put their differences aside to survive whatever the situation is, right? And the story is, a million years old or older if you include other places and dimensions. But this story of strife and working together and fixing it and and thriving after whatever it is because we learn to work together. I think that is a simple story, and a simple life plan that we can work together. We've already learned this with, brothers and sisters, siblings, family members. If you can't work together, it just sucks. You know what I mean? So that's part of the truth. That's part of each of our spiritual journeys. And as we learn to control these things, like over the years, do you still pick a fight with Uncle Fred, knowing, if you talk to him about, you know, how good President Biden's doing, he's going to want to jump up and throw his beer bottle at you? Do you still poke fun at Uncle Fred? And Aunt Lizzie out there, she's 345 pounds if she's an ounce, and you still go out there and talk about how thin she looks, and how you lie to her about how her figure is one of these, when she is a big fat honking slob and stinks and needs a bath. But you still go out there. So there, do we still do these things? you know or do we say, hey, listen, honey, I love you to death, and I know you are a full figured girl, but maybe you should clean yourself up a little bit. And that's the third pie you've had today. Don't you think two pies is adequate? I mean, so you don't have to beat someone up and call them fat and dumb and stupid when they may be dumb, fat, and stupid. You know what I mean? But and some people still need to be locked up, or whatever, more tightly controlled. You just don't turn them loose. And, oh, there's a sexual predator that lives in my neighborhood. Really? Yeah, there's two or three that used to live around me. And I was like, when did they become sexual predators, and what was it, or something like that? And you come to find out, well, there was a stepdaughter involved, and she accused the daddy or the father or the stepdad or whatever of trying to mess with her. And there had been too many of those incidents over the years where they just wanted to get rid of the stepfather or whatever, and the girls would come back later on. Now, I ain't saying that that doesn't happen. That's not my point. But I had a an in-law who was accused of that, and later on, the girl came back, and they even went back to court and said, "We want to, we, I really messed up. I was mad at him. I was on drugs, and blah 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 blah." And they were like, because they had made a mandate, and he was a sexual predator, and he had to tell everybody in his neighborhood, and it's like, but then after you go do this and everybody says, well, he's a sexual predator, then to go back and say, well, look, the judge says that's not really true. She lied. Well, you're still living in my neighborhood. You're still going to keep an eye on you. You're still going to, okay. So even we may live in truth, but in some ways, there may be folks that are out to get us that will tell a lie against our truth, against our own honor and respect for ourselves. But even when we try to be honorable and respectful to these other parties, they still turn on us. And what are you going to do about that, right? I've had it happen to me. I know there are some of you that are out there that have had similar things happen to you. And it's like it really sucks. So you try to be good to humanity, and there are some folks, quote, you scratch your head and go, are they really human? Why would they have done this kind of thing? I was kind to them. I was nice to them. I showed respect and honor. I gave them things. I tried literally, here's money, here's a thing, you know, and they're disrespectful. They just, you know, well, here's $10. Well, don't you got 20? Well, no, I got $10 here. Well, but yeah, but I really need 20. I'm sorry, but I've only got 10. Well, but yeah, but come on now. I'm sure you got some more money. Give me 20. I need 20. Hang on. I was being gracious, and to give you $10 without you even asking. Here's $10. I hope this will help. It's all I got. Did you hear what I just said? It's all I got. But yeah, but well, I'm sure you. Come on, you got $5 more. Come on, come on, come on. And there are those people. I've met them. You may too, who will swear to God that you owe them more than what you offered them. You didn't have to offer. So we have to deal with those people, right? Now, here's the thing: there are some of them people that have changed their mind. They have changed their outlook. They have something along the line has taught them a lesson, and they're not like that anymore, which I firmly believe is a good thing, right? But then there are some folks after, you know, 50 or 60 or 70 years still haven't learned that lesson. They don't want to learn the lesson. They have no inkling of wanting to change. They see nothing wrong. Well, I'm this way and just this is the way it's going to be. So you can be polite to these folks but in your own spiritual journey, you're still going to meet these folks. You still have to deal with them in some way, shape, or form. But at the same time, you have, if you're learning the law of one, to do no harm, which means to be respectful and honest and truthful. But at the same time, you know, Aunt Lizzie, who's 395 pounds, just got a new summer hat. And at least she's getting out and exercising, and she's taking, she's helping the church ladies out at the local Baptist church. So you can't really fault her because at least she's trying. So you say, well, my goodness, girl, you look lovely today with that new hat, when the tent she's wearing makes her look like she's 900 pounds and there's an elephant under her dress, right? Besides her. And I'm sorry to be picking on Miss Lizzie, but there are some times, but so you can be honest in ways that are respectful. Because if you were really truthful about, come on, honey, put that pie down. It's the third pie. Now, I don't mean piece, I mean pie. Put the pie down, right? And, but see, that's being truthful. It is being honest. But by doing those two things, by being truthful and honest, they're also going to hurt their feelings. So if you're going by the law of one, and you don't want to harm anyone in any way. So there are ways that you can compliment them and still be honest without crossing that line. Back away from the pie. Absolutely. They're not even, Lizzie don't even use a fork or nor a spoon, right? She just dips it right up out of it and eats it. That's Miss Lizzie. So there's a particular person in an old movie way back. I mean, it might go back to the days of like Laurel and Hardy and stuff. Very large lady who played in a bunch of those movies way back when. She was funnier than hell, but there was something about pies one time. But the joy Miss Lucy feels just being treated with respect is very rewarding, right? Exactly. And you could tell her after the second pie, you could whisper in her ear and go, Miss Lizzie, that you really don't need that third pie, you know, and saying it away, without. So there are things that we can teach folks by being polite, by still being honest, by still being respectful. And now, if Miss Lizzie looks and says, look at me, honey, can you tell I lost 50 pounds? And my response would be like, what'd you do? Drop your grocery bag? Which is disrespectful. Because you go, look at me, I lost 50 pounds. Did did you drop your groceries? You know, um, did you let the kid down? Was you, anyway. So And poor Miss Lizzie, we're picking on her, right? But to the point, though, there are some folks that she may be 400 pounds, but she's still doing what she can. That's my point. Now, there is the Lizzie that's sitting in the back room going, Charlie, bring me another, man, I ain't talking about her now. This Miss Lizzie's doing church work. She's going out and doing stuff. She is trying. So she may be helping more people. Yes, exactly. It's all spiritual. Yep. And see, and I've known some very large women like this that were so jovial and so kind and bustled about in their little ways. And but uh, you'd watch them eat that, after five sausage dogs and three pieces of pizza and some Coca-Cola and tater chips and whatnots. You got to go. Uh, My, that sure is a lot you've had to eat today. You sure are hungry. My, what did you do to have an appetite like that? And you can kind of sort of make little hints like maybe you've had too much to eat, like that's your fourth plate of ribs, and they've got rib juice up their elbows and in their eyes and under their armpits. Disorder can be put in order with a little genuine kindness. However, you can be as kind and gentle and helpful, but if they don't want your dang help, that's it, you know. Um, and if you go in and solicit your help when it ain't wanted, or it's unsolicited, listen here, honey, let me let that dress out for you. If you gonna keep eating three pies at every sitting, let me help let your dress out. Let me put some spandex in your dress so you can kind of just bulge when you need to bulge more. But and picking on fat people, but there are some folks though that are, have got some extra weight on them, but they're busy and they're going out and doing stuff and but to be kind, you say, do you need all those calories? Do you need that extra weight? You know, my dear friend Martha that passed away recently, she was an excessively large woman for all her life. She was if she ever if I don't know if I ever saw her at 250, okay. She was always more than 250 pounds, but she exercised all the time. But and was a vegetarian. But the things that other types of things that she ate was sugars and pies and stuff like that. And just, yeah, but I'm a vegetarian. Yeah, but you just ate a whole cherry pie. Well, I mean, that's no. Well, I know you had vegetables for supper, but you ate a whole cherry pie and chased it down with an apple gallon ice cream. Don't nit. So moderation of things, but the amount of calories and certain things that some folks were, and lying to themselves like, look, you gained 3 pounds, right? And you already weigh 325. So you had to do something. Well, I swear to God, I didn't do anything. I just ate the normal stuff. Then why'd you gain 3 pounds? I'm sorry. Well, I went to the gym 4 times last week. Then why'd you gain 3 pounds? And the reason you went to the gym 4 times is because you felt guilty about whatever it was you ate. Now, it ain't me. It's up to you, but you're lying to yourself because somehow it don't make sense to me. And having been around this person, um, I'd see her sneaking shit. Well, I just had this little candy bar stuck in my purse from the other day. Yeah, but you didn't include that in your dietary supplement today. Well, I ate some carrots and a couple of potatoes, and I'm really good. And then you ate this great big ass candy bar with 1,000 calories or something. Oh yeah, and it's sugar and the things that really don't. Okay, but so we still have to be kind and we still have to be respectful, and we try to find a way of saying, you know, I read this thing about people who eat too many candy bars or something. Uh, if it's unsolicited, that's where we need to be very careful because we want to be helpful, we want to be kind, but at the same time, as I said in a couple of videos way back, none ya. It ain't none your business. If I want to eat 3 pies, it's none ya. Okay. Now, if somebody says, I just ate the third pie, help me. I don't want to eat another one. I don't want to eat 3 pies. Then we are invited in to the conversation and we do our best to help our comrade out. Comrade, you stop eating pies. You come to Russia, you starve. We feed you potatoes and turnips. Yum. And borscht, whatever borscht is. I've heard borscht before, but I still don't know what it is. But we eat sauerkraut and whatever that'd be Germany. But anyway, so there is a fine line about being truthful and honest, but still being helpful. And in this day's society, with things changing this way and that way and left and right and up and down, it's one cold beet soup. It's borscht. Oh, really? Beet soup, huh? I look like an angel? Oh my goodness gracious. How about you just make her a big cousin and tell her, yeah, no strings attached. Right. Well, I would do those things, but my point is that when you love somebody, even though, you care for their help and they don't seem to be caring for their help, there are ways that we can be kind. And my dear friend that has passed, and I was kind as much as possible in that. But she still passed before me, and I'm the one that eats the red meats and the thingies and the stuffs, and But anyway, so sometimes that's just the way it is. But anyway, in the spiritual journey for each one of us, and for whatever um, level you want to be on, if you want to be a good Christian or a good whatever, it's okay. Um, but the basic thing I think most of us are learning is that we would just want to try to be as good a good people as we can without getting slapped, killed, jabbed, stabbed, or stolen from. We just want to do the best we can. And if it means we can help someone and we can't help others, then we have to live with that too, right? Because um, and this might be a good time to bring this up in that um, for many years and trying to help everybody as a much younger man. My psychologist friend, who was a professor at Valdosta State College, I used to help her and her husband around their house and do things. I was their handyman, and boy, do I see the value in my services to old people back then because I could really use some of them services now. But I have a friend or two that helps, but boy, do I see the value in that now that I'm older. But anyway, she sat me down one time and she looked at me and she said, I can be honest with you, right?" And I said, "Sure, Miss Sally, go. I mean, Miss Chavar, go ahead." And she said, "You have the Jesus Christ complex." And I went, "What?" And she goes, "Calm down, sit down, calm down, calm down. What I mean is, you feel like you can help and save everybody that has a big crisis, small crisis. You think that by you can help them. You can fix the problem. You can, and I still feel that way, although much less different because I'm much older and more crippled. But the idea, though, that when I stopped and thought about it, she was absolutely right. Oh, well, here, let me help you with that. Well, I'm already in the middle of something. I'm already kind of sort of committed to somebody else, but I want to help this person out, and I want to help this person out. And I overloaded. I got people mad at me. I mean, lost a girlfriend over the deal, and because I thought I could fix all these problems when I maybe could have fixed one or two. I don't know about beet soup, but back in the day, eating uh, beets just out of a can, and they're good for you. But having been from the north, I remember I can't remember what was cooked in with the beets, but they were just basically heated up. Um, but now I can't speak for anybody else from but myself. In trying to help out people, I overextended myself. I got too much involved and couldn't take care of one, and one overlapped another. So, this helping of people is good. I had carried it much too far. Okay. And I have noticed other people who do the same thing. And I have told them, you have the Jesus Christ complex. Oh, no, I don't. Yeah. Well, then you can't help everybody. No, because there's not enough time. That's the biggest thing. And you're tired. Well, but this person needs help. So, well, I gave them a ride home, and they called me and said, "Can you come pick me up?" Well, it was 10 o'clock at night, and you got to be at work at 5, so which means you got to be up at 4. But so you go and get them, and then they want them, and so you don't get to bed till 2. So you're going to suffer the next day. Well, I'm helping out a friend. Well, then something else happens, and you run yourself down. And then people, well, I can call you. Well, call me anytime. I'll come help. Okay. And so what do? They call you anytime. And then you feel obligated. Well, no, I'm in bed. Well, I need a ride. Well, I don't care. I got to get up early tomorrow. Well, aren't you going to come pick me up? You said if I ever needed something, and now you got to go do it, right? So, but in that, we overtax ourselves, we become less efficient for ourselves and for other people. And we also, some of us, have inadvertently, guess what, created a monster. Because every time you turn around, they're calling you to come help them. So, what do? You have to be kind and say, I'm sorry, I can't help you all the time. Um, don't you have something? No, I'm relying on you. Okay, well, you still have to be able to say, but wait a minute, I just can't be. I am not your all the time helper, guide, guardian, whatever. No, I have a other life. There are other people, and there are some folks who will make themselves necessary. Okay, so it is necessary that you have to go deal with them. It is necessary that you go pick them up. It is necessary that you take them to the. It is necessary. And you might say, well, it's okay, but and then you go help somebody else that maybe like really needs it, where it's just convenient for this person to use you. So we have to be careful with that, because in that we say, well, now somebody becomes dependent upon your services. Is that really what you meant when you said, call me if you need something? That now you're the constant, you are they have become dependent upon you. Is that what you meant? Is that what you still mean? And as the years or months or however has gone by, um, how much of your time have you given to doing this other thing when you could have been doing something else, or you gave, So, yes, it's up to you. There's kindness, and we be kind. But do we stretch ourselves to the rubber band point that when it snaps, one side or the other is going to get hurt? You know what I mean? If you let go of the rubber band with this one, this hand gets, gets the inertia. So, but anyway, I wanted to get on here and just kind of have this little discussion. But each one of us is on a spiritual journey, whether we realize it or not. And just being kind and helpful to other people is gracious and wonderful. It's all good, except when it becomes excessive. And we have to be careful that other people don't make it become excessive to you when that was not your original intent. You know what I mean? So, and if you continue and if you allow it, and and people still call you up at 2 o'clock in the morning to come get you or whatever, uh, I don't like them as, um, oh, y'all talking about, you going to bed? Me too, here shortly. I just wanted to get on here and, tell y'all that I missed you and hope you're doing well. And that for whatever your journey is, the more that you learn spiritually, it helps to share it with people who could use it. But always remember it's up to them to use your advice, to follow your recipe, or follow um, somebody asked me one day, they said, "Oh, so you got a YouTube channel?" Yeah. How many followers do you have? And I said, I don't know. I don't think I have any followers, but I got quite a few subscribers, you know. Well, don't they follow you? Well, yeah, but they're not my followers. They're my friends and neighbors, so to speak. And I mean, literally, some folks are neighbors. So they're friends and neighbors. And they have subscribed to my channel, but I would not consider them, nor do I call them followers. Well, yeah, but don't you talk about spiritual stuff, Dave? Hawkeye? Yeah, whatever you call it. Yeah. Well, but don't they watch you and don't they follow you? I don't use that word. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound right to me because I'm not trying to get anybody to follow me. Y'all come and hang out. That's great. But, do I consider you my followers? Nah, I don't, you know. Um, so, but in this spiritual journey, we are, um, we're, we are all together. See how they fly. I'm crying, climbing up the Eiffel Tower. Anyway, I'm thinking of the Beatles song. But friends and neighbors, you know, with all the changes and things that are going on these days, we need to keep that core value of trust and honesty and so forth. Family, yes, yeah, cosmic kin, absolutely. And I absolutely do believe that some of us have met in a previous life doing something. I mean, it just is kind of uncanny, in some certain ways. But I think it's all good. So, but the things that are coming up, oh God Almighty, Brad Stability. Hey, I got some Kool-Aid. Actually, I made coffee, but speaking of coffee and speaking of which, right? But if you wanted to be followers, then be followers of nature, be followers of Mother Earth, be followers of the universe, because that's what I'm following, right? And learning from. But There are still ways of being able to influence people without being obnoxious to them, right? And so uh, we, as just human beings, and it helps. Personally, I think it helps our own spirit out when we share what spiritualness with others, And so it's like you could say, "Well, I had this dream the other night," and I'm not drinking Hawkeye's Kool Aid. Yeah, I'm a black cherry fan myself, but anyway, so black cherry drink for y'all. Um, I'm not necessarily hooked on them, but the big Mountain Dew black cherry, whatever kind of zippity doo dah drink it is. People say, "Well, you're drinking that because it's got all the caffeine in it." No, I'm drinking it because it's black cherry. Yeah, but you know, because I don't like any of the other flavors. But that black cherry one in the 16-ounce can, if they got one cold, I'm going to buy one. But anyway, but in this, we share, wow, I had this really interesting, dream or this, what it, when I have just blurted out before, but when people are sensitive, you say, well, I had this, what seems like a prophecy. And people go, whoa, they want to just take a step back. You say, but I had this dream and it was so real. It was almost like somebody was trying to tell me something. People will kind of listen to that. So, how you phrase your experience is the wisdom that you learn through life and how to. I'm still learning it, but and how you speak with what well, I had this dream and God spoke to me and God told me, yeah, okay. Then you could say, well, I had this dream and it was like this guy was hearing voices from God. So you put the story into a third person story where you're talking about yourself, but it's this other person. So then the people will listen to the story. You see what I mean? So there are things that we can convey to others, a spiritualness. Well, if you say, well, for example, you say, well, Buddha said this, and you relate something, and there might be those folks who go, oh God, he's talking about that big fat guy that your rubby's belly Buddha. And you say, if you rephrase that and say there have been spiritual teachers over the many centuries and thousands of years. So, but if you don't mention Buddha per se, but that's who you mean, and you say there have been many teachers, okay, Buddha was a teacher, and he was a shaman of sorts, right? He was meditative and blah blah blah. But but rather than use the word Buddha, you are thinking it, kind of sort of implying it mostly by saying these spiritual leaders over the thousands of years. This is what they've taught. That's different than, say, Buddha said, because that will sometimes turn people's head right off. So you can discuss spiritualism and the spirit of things and of society and of some, well, what do you think about this, what how people are our society now allows these things versus how they how they didn't allow them 10 or 15 or 20 years ago or 50 years ago or whatever. And you can bring up the subject of stuff like that by using history or previous things so you don't actually attack the person or their beliefs. You say, what do you think about this? Versus, and you might already kind of know what their opinion is, but that you bring it up in such a way that there can be open dialogue. Well, over the last 10 or 15 years, society has changed. And, I know I've changed my opinion about things. So you present it to this other person who you haven't said what, but you've admitted that you've had to change your opinion because of the way society has changed. Aha. So there are ways we can get our point across. There are ways we can have conversations with people without disturbing them, without being disrespectful, and still bringing honor and, you know, truthfulness to the table. And by staying honest and truthful and living by example, that's the other thing. So it's been busy today in the last few days. I'm going to do a video when the weather clears up a little bit and show what I've gotten done with the floor and the foundation and everything. I'm almost ready to backfill my trench. Ooh, and it feels so good. But anyway, I love you all. I do. Have a good Friday. The weather's gonna turn chilly here the next couple of days down here. So I know those of you who live further north than me are in for a cool weekend coming up. So stay warm. And in discussing with some folks about my passive solar house, it's been getting down into the upper 30s here the last couple of nights, right? And with the sun that I get during the daytime, it got to one morning I got up and I don't know, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. It was 55 in the house. Now that's without any kind of heat on or anything. It's just solar energy and hitting the floor and and it giving the heat back off to the house. Well, it was 39 outside. Yeah, 55 in the house was a little chilly. Um, but the fact though that I can survive. Now I got a heater over here. I've got wood. My test is to learn how to acclimate myself to the cooler temperatures. So where a few years ago, I would have balked at it's 55 in the house. Oh God, I gotta light a fire. Now I look at 55 and go, it's 55 in the house. I can't quite see my breath. And I got a long sleeve shirt on and my little thing, and me and the dog were cooled up. Okay, and it's almost daylight, right? So why build a fire when it's almost daylight and the sun's going to start warming up the house? So there are times when I was like, yeah, well, but it's only a little bit of firewood. Yeah, but for the times when it's just coolish in the house, or there's not enough sun, and you say, well, I'm just going to burn a little fire. And then you burn a little fire, and then you burn a little fire. And then it gets really freaking cold, and you really need the firewood. But because I was tempted when it was 59 degrees in the house to build a fire and warm up the house, there are times when it's 28 degrees outside, it's cold in the house, and you really need the firewood. So for me, I'm trying to be practical. And if I'm too cold, I'll go start a fire now. Don't get me wrong. Uh, yeah, good to see you too. I'm glad y'all can show up and be with us and all that kind of good thing. So, anyway, so for me, though, I know there are people who are freezing to death and it's really cold. But then there are some people who like it's 60 degrees in the house and they're going to die. And I just go, come on, put another pair of pants, put some extra jammies on, put on a sweater. You're not going to die. It's only 60. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody that's saying that they're cold and freezing, that it's really cold and freezing. I don't mean that. But there are some folks it's like it's amazing if you can learn to be in your house and it's 55 or 60 degrees and you get adjusted to it. It's amazing how much energy you will save as far as heating bills and so forth. And if, like for me, well, it's getting a little colder towards daylight inside the house, and it's really cold outside. Been a cold couple of days. Yeah, but it's almost daylight. Can I tolerate the next 3 or 4 hours of chilly conditions until the sun comes up? And that's, well, I'm going to go ahead and build a fire. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Well, maybe I'll just kind of jump up and down. If I go outside for 10 minutes, I come back in the house and the house feels really flippin' warm. And I can tolerate the next 3 hours till the sun comes in the house. So, what we can tolerate, what we learn to do, what we can learn ourselves on how we can survive. But for so many people's houses and their lives are climatized and socialized, where everything, well, if it's 65, then the heater kicks on, or if this happens, so they just can't learn or don't learn that they may be able to get by just fine. If and I'm using the thermostat as an example, but so if you turn that thermostat down another 2 degrees, just a little cooler, but you ain't dead yet. You've survived. You have kind of gotten used to it. Interesting. And you saved that much more in your heating bill or whatever, right? So anyway, I love you all. We can acclimate to things. And that's what's coming up for many folks. They're going to have to acclimate to the new society. I know I'm looking at stuff going, man, I'm so glad I don't have to participate as much as I used to do with having a job and all this other kind of stuff. I'm so glad I don't have to get that involved anymore. But at the same time, I feel like there's something pushing me to somehow become more involved. It's a really twitchy kind of situation. Like if I get more insight to myself, it's insight that I automatically my spirit guides say, you got to share this. Well, but we got to share that. Well, but yeah, but haven't I talked about, yeah, but you need to share it with folks. You need to keep folks up to date. Make sure certain things that they may have forgotten or kind of neglected along the way. Like there's a couple of plants over there in that window. I sincerely need to go water. But so the law of one, honor and respect. Those things deserve to be repeated. In that we just make sure that if we give all our honor and respect to everybody else, are we keeping enough for ourselves without being egotistical? Because we must honor ourselves. We must respect ourselves. Oop, it's raining again. I guess it's not over. But so anyway, stay dry, stay as warm as you can be, but realize that unless you're honest to God freezing to death, you maybe just need to move around a little bit and warm yourself up, and we'll get through this. And I'm using the cold just as a metaphor, but with the things that are coming up here in the future, um, yeah, you got to try. And oh, but it's too hard. Is it really? Just come on. And because for some people, especially their outlook on life, their future looks very bleak to them because of current situations and things like that. But if we allow ourselves to get caught up in that muck and that we get stuck there, then maybe then with that point of view, there is no future and things are just always going to suck, and nothing's ever going to be resolved, and it's like my friend that showed up this evening and we visited, he's wants to make a deal for his truck that we had talked about months ago, almost a year ago now, and that he's in a situation where that um, as we had discussed months ago. So here in the next few weeks or maybe a month, I'll have a vehicle that I can actually drive. And as soon as it quits raining, I'm going to go out and figure out what's wrong with my truck. I was just so interested in pouring concrete before this rain come. I didn't work on my truck. But now I'm going back to my truck, which after all those good parts simply won't even start now, by the way. But anyway, but that I may have this other truck that's several years newer. It's a full size truck, not a little mini truck. And it's got a back seat, you know, so Duggar can get in the back seat and I can take somebody with me in the front seat. And a lot of other things can change by having this vehicle. And for me, at the moment, it's affordable. And we've agreed because we've been neighbors and friends that yeah, it's 212. Yeah, it just turned 212. All right, so I'll stick around until the 20 and wrap these things up. But my point in this is that 2 days ago I didn't have this information. 2 days ago my truck just wasn't running, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and how. And now, having had this conversation this evening, within a couple of weeks, we could make this transaction that we discussed way back when. But by being patient, and that so that having another vehicle here shortly, that runs. It's an automatic and all that, but it's a full size truck, and so a lot of good things. And he's my neighbor, and he could borrow it anytime he wants. And at the same point, if something goes wrong with it, because it was his truck before, he can say, "Well, I know about this," and help. So part of the agreement was, I'll buy you this, I'll buy this truck, and I'll pay this much. But the deal is that you help me if anything goes wrong, because you know the truck, right? And he's like, "Well, yeah, so." He's got two other trucks that he's trying to get fixed, and one of them is a diesel dually, and it's the fuel pump went out on it, and it's like 2 grand for this fuel pump. So, um, and for what the type of work he does, the that diesel dually is actually a better truck than this one, because the bed's bigger, but and will haul more. So you know, I'm doing him a favor by pick. So he's got three different trucks, and he wants to, two is quite enough, right? So, but in this, my point about this, about the truck thing, is that a couple of days ago, this wasn't in my discussion. So if you think at the moment that, well, nothing's going to get better and nothing's going to change, and I'm going to be stuck here and yada yada yada. So a lot of time you can spend on what ifs and all these other things, and then a couple of days later, all of a sudden, hey, an opportunity shows up, or something else, right? And so it's like, so you never know from one minute to the next how things are going to change, or somebody's going to ask you something, or you just never know. But if you hide your head under a rock, and if your intent, and if your daily life is, well, it's never going to get any better than this, then you're wishing that shit on yourself. So stop it. If it's never going to get better than this. Oh, here's another thing. Oh, Bitcoin. Okay, so you're going to invest in Bitcoin. Okay. Can you eat a damn Bitcoin? Can you chop a tree down for firewood to stay warm with Bitcoin? Can you eat silver? Can you eat gold? In these depressive times, people are saying invest in gold and silver and Bitcoin. None of it will help you to survive. Period. Okay? Stop it. If your head is in the clouds about what's going to save you in the future is gold and silver and Bitcoin, maybe it will. But if the shit really hits the fan, none of that's going to make any difference. Now, here's the reason why I say that, and I'm trying my best to not be negatory about it. But 100 years ago, okay, when they had the big economic fall and the trade market and the stock market and all that, we are looking very similar to some of these things right now. And there are those factions who would love to see that happen again, to knock a bunch of people out of the market, to, the market drops, prices drop, and then the rich people that still have money go around and buy up all the rest of the property at an even better deal, right? So, and to absorb more power. And so I see that there is a trend, and I do not want to procrastinate or prognosticate, but procrastinate, that that's what's going to happen. But it seems like there are factions within the economic forum group there that want to see this happen. They want this another $1 trillion deal to go through. Oh, it's all about infrastructure. We'll see. You know what I mean? And whose pocket's going to get greased because of this, and which state's going to get what for what? We'll see. Um, do I agree that our infrastructure needs help? Yes, but is all this money, is that what's going to fix it? And as they're well, you'll be able to see a change within the next 3 or 4 months. Oh no, you won't. You know how long it takes to send out bids, and get bids from 3 different things. I mean, especially with government. So, they're going to fast track some of this. Well, if they're going to fast track it, that means it's going to go to a crony. Okay, and so here we go again. There was a deal back in Florida long time ago when I was growing up about the Cohn Brothers Construction Company. Because no matter where you went in the state of Florida, was Cohn Brothers Construction Company. There were even some folks in Tampa, Cones, that we knew. Oh, it's 2:19, a minute earlier. That it was like, oh, Cohn Brothers, they're this reputable construction company. And when it got boiled down to, and folks started doing some research into the Cohn Brothers, there were, they the construction company was spread so thin, they didn't have enough operators, they didn't have enough equipment, and but everywhere you went, the road was tore up. There'd be one of those signs with a blinker on it, right, that said Cohn Brothers Construction. So it's like, whoa, Cohn Brothers working over here, Cohn Brothers working over there, Cohn Brothers working over here. They had so many projects going on at the same time all over the flipping state of Florida. Now, this has been a long time ago. This is pre-70s kind of thing. Um, but the scandal was that the state of Georgia was giving them preferential treatment. Um, yep, it is a 20 burn, right? 20, I think. Close enough anyway. So, in all the honesty that was supposedly going on, here was this the construction company who was laundering like millions of dollars trying to do all these good, um, state projects and streets and roads and construction, when they were taking forever to get the job done. And, come to find out, they were getting whatever, well, since Cohn Brothers is working on this highway, we'll just go ahead and, they've already got the paving equipment. We'll just go ahead and give them, we're not going to bid it out. We're just going to go ahead and let them repave this highway. And then when they, well, we'll let them go ahead and repave this, because their name was all over the state. It didn't make it good. It didn't make it right, and a lot of money was spent. A lot of roads were tore up. So they'd start a section of the road, tear it up, put up some signs, and not come back for a year. You know, oh, they'd show up and do a little pavement or something. But in the long run, they were just cheating and jisting and jousting and pouncing and So all this money for infrastructure is fine if it actually gets there, is my point. Much like what happened in the state of Florida all them years ago. And it ain't just Florida, you know what I mean? But so if people would be honest and act with integrity, integrity, wait, integrity. Yeah, that's what we think about integrity, right? These folks have none. So, having sat in on and videotaped, city council meetings and county commissioners meetings and stuff like that over the years, and have listened into a bunch of stuff like that when I was really interested in government. And there are some, well, there's is that old boy group thing. And it's like, going to the Pelham City Council over in Pelham, Georgia. They will, well, we got the street over here on 7th Avenue. Well, what was our bid for what these guys did over here on 4th Avenue? Well, they bid for so much, and what did it include? This and that and that and this. Well, so they looked around the room and they said, well, do y'all feel comfortable that if their bid is comparable, we just go ahead and allow them, since their equipment's already in town, that they just go a couple blocks over and repay this other street under whatever funds money was there. So they were not that there was any shysters going on, but it was a matter of convenience. Okay, and I would sit there and watch these folks, and they go, and it made sense. Like, why bring in another company? Because paving companies are dime, they got to come from long distances up here to do some of this stuff, right? And bring up their equipment. So it costs them money to drive their equipment back and forth. So if they could say, well, since you're already working on the street and your equipment's already in town, and we allow you to go to the other side of town and fix these streets, versus going out and getting another bidder who's going to have to come in and bring their equipment in and do the, so it's a matter of convenience. And when you stop and think about it, it sort of logically sounds is sound, but at the same time, this same company keeps getting the same work. Now, it's not that that's bad because it all gets checked, but my point is nobody else gets a bid in the city of Pelham by inadvertently one company doing a good job. And by being there, there's a, well, we'll just go ahead and let you do this job too. So there's another company who ain't getting paving business because this company here, for whatever reason, convenience, whatever, and not necessarily any coercion, but then they're getting the next job and the next one, right? So you say, well, but there's competition. Well, but in the real world, it don't really work like that because Joe's already in the neighborhood. I have done several similar jobs like that too. Well, like Dave's already here. Um, Painting this bedroom, why don't we go ahead and let him fix this thing on the back porch? Hey, Dave, when you're done painting that bedroom, you want to do this job? Well, sure. Well, okay. So there's another carpenter or handyman who, quote, I'd be stealing the work from, but because I'm already there and working on the folks' house and they trust my work, they give me this extra job. So, but am I taking it? And is somebody else losing? You see what I'm saying? So having been there myself, literally, well, I did a good job. I was hired for this job, but then they say, well, we really like your work. Can you stay and do this, or will you come back and do that? Well, sure, it's above and beyond the first contract we made. But to the point, though, about folks who are doing sewer work or who are doing, resurfacing or putting up light poles, whatever it is, right, for the infrastructure. So I'm hoping that this preferential treatment that happens by accident, and a lot of times, quite frankly, on purpose. But the Teamsters Union and stuff, and the stories that were told way back in the day, I don't even know what it's like now, but you can't move anything in New York and Jersey and places up there without the Teamsters, truck drivers and dock workers, Teamsters, okie doke. But there's a lot of control in there. There's a lot of them brotherhoods and them mafiosos, that are still and not just the Italians. There's like Chinese and these guys, and there's all kinds of underworld folks got their fingers in everything, right? So if we could eliminate that, if people would just be honest and act within, that I word, integrity, integrity, who these days you notice that Emerald, Sam, but so I don't know if society is going to be able to like get there. But there are folks who want to use preferential treatment and things, which would automatically block out a whole group of folks, right? Who, maybe up to this point had access. We're doing, for example, in the last 2 years with all this, business with the business, two of my favorite restaurants down in Thomasville are no longer in service. And it's just like, man, you talk about good meals and the people that work there and the many years that the restaurants were there, and the memories and of this and of that, and it ain't there no more. And what put it out of business? Well, the commander in chief putting everything under restriction, and the state governor and all these folks, and then local governments, and people just being scared to go out. And so these wonderful eateries and places, and local businesses, right? No longer in business, couldn't compete with other things, and because they were local businesses, and it's a shame. So I know there's been a lot of hurt. There's been a lot of other changes in driving downtown, which I haven't done much in the last couple of years, to see the changes in Moultrie and in Thomasville, and go, where the hell did that come from? And find out that some things have been built within the last 9 months, that a year ago the business were started, construction, parking lots, whatever, there's a two new gas station, service station thingies, with some kind of something, pizza parlor next to it. But that was built just literally the whole thing, and the business is up and running for the last couple of months within the last year. So there are businesses there, that are new businesses going in, and places and stuff, and there's business, you know what I mean? So it's not like things are desolate, but other things that were like established businesses are somehow like now gone and just out of business. Eateries, restaurants, pawn shops, small businesses just don't even, if you didn't know they were there, you would never know they existed, and they'd been here for 20 years. So changes are inevitable. What these crazy people are trying to convince: buy gold, buy silver, buy Bitcoin, but you can't eat it, you can't drink it, you can't smoke it, you can't barter with it. I mean, if somebody knows that you've got a pile full of gold and you want to go, and when it comes time to the value of things. So, for example, If the dollar goes kerflunkle and the stock market goes, people are still going to use dollar bills because that's what they use for exchange. Now, a loaf of bread might cost $10, but they're still going to use dollars. You hear me? It's going to be paper dollars, it's going to be change. But if you've got a brick of gold somewhere, somebody's going to say, well, that gold don't do me any good. Why? Because I can't exchange it. Yeah, but I've got this brick of gold, so I need the dollars because actually, because the computers are down or whatever, like what happened during Hurricane Michael, we could still buy things with cash, but digital was gone because all the electricity was off. So I could go to the store because I got some money stashed around here in the house. Not a whole lot, but enough, $50, $100, So I could go to the store and buy a couple of items, and say, okie dokie, here's where other people like they got their little piece of plastic going, all my money's tied up in here. I got thousands of dollars, but they couldn't spend a dime of it because it was a piece of plastic. So if you want to invest in something, keep some dollar bills. Uh, I say hide it under your mattress, but it's the idea of hiding it under your mattress. Have it to where if something goes wrong, you say, well, the value of the dollar won't be much. Who cares? It's still going to be a dollar. I would, the lights can go out and everything, but if somebody says, I got $10, will you sell me something for $10? Well, I know what the value of $10 is, and I know that these $10 bills I can barter with somebody else because they will see the value of $10. Now I might only get $5 worth of actual goods for $10, but the $10 will still be worth something. You see what I mean? Where gold or silver is not going to matter. Now, if you have gold coins or gold or silver coins or something, yeah, but you're not going to get the value out of the silver. You're only going to get the value of the coin. So if you've got a silver quarter, it's still only going to be worth 25 cents. Okay. You're still going to need four of them to make a dollar. You hear me? So all of this stuff was, but here's the thing about the finances. You want to invest in something, invest in a good home safe and keep you some bucks at the house. Don't put it in the bank. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Was talking with a friend of mine the other day about computers and cell phones and things. I need to get a cell phone, but I don't make that much money every month, and I'm kind of already got committed to certain things right now, and I could drop a few of them, but at the same point, it's like, well, um, and I can see the value of dropping a couple of things and save me 20 or $30 a month and some subscriptions that I have, but I don't go to the movies anymore or go out. Uh, I Not that I wouldn't, but I just don't. So, but what I would have spent at the movies per month, going to see one show, I have subscriptions that I subscribe to, and okay, so, but I could drop those. I don't have to have them. Um, but at the same time, I don't have to have a cell phone. But if I had one, I'd like to have one that's good enough to do a couple of basic things for me. I want GPS, I want this, and maybe do short live streams or at least be able to upload videos from my phone to a YouTube or something like that, right? But I'm not going to be using it all the time. It isn't going to be my main platform, all that kind of thing. So, in looking around for the prices on cell phones and things and plans and stuff, I'm like, well, by the time you get through with it all, I'm still good. It's still looking like $100 a month, no matter what a dadgum do. So anyway, um, so if I want something bad enough, is sort of my point of this, I will find something that will fit. And I want to go traveling, especially if I get this truck now. I would like to go visit, Brian Lunsford down in Navarre, Florida, and go see my granddaughter. My daughter lives down there too, and her mama lives not too far away. So, would like to go down and at least say hi and visit with everybody and see how folks are doing. And, Terry, Teresa, Jackie's mom, we've been, friends for a long time, almost 50 years kind of thing. So, we can at least sit and have a smoke and laugh about, old times and new times and current times and crazy times and still be friends after all this. And for her and I, it's like, we've mended whatever bridges and we've talked about things that pissed each other off and the mistakes we've made with spouses and problems and kids and stuff, just life. And that after it all, we can still talk on the phone and be friends. And I do care that she's still alive, and even though she's in has been in ill health with heart conditions and stuff, and I still encourage her to get better, and I mean it. She's on an oxygen tank but smoking cigarettes. Now I'm sorry, if I had to go on oxygen, I'd give up my cigarettes. I might have one or two a day, but to smoke a pack a day and an oxygen tank, sorry. Which, by the way, for those of you who are keeping up, I have had a pack of cigarettes that I'm stretching for 3 days instead of two now. So where I was smoking a half a pack a day, I'm less than a half a pack a day. I'm down to one pack for every 3 days now. So my commitment to myself to cut down and so forth. And I told y'all I'd keep y'all appraised of the situation, but this like the last three packs of cigarettes I've had have each lasted me 3 days. And so I'm like, that's good. And it encourages me because now I know I can do better, you know, that um, I'm way back in the day, years ago, I used to smoke like 2 to 4 cigarettes a day. That was it. I had this like 2 cigarette thing. And it had to do with what I'd learned from this psychologist years before who said, he talked about cigars. Me and God, I got this deal with God. And he smoked these great big hunker cigars too, by the way. But he said, me and God, he said, I made a deal that I smoked um, 2 cigars a day. And he said, some days I'd smoke 3 cigars. And on the odd occasion, I had smoked 4 cigars. But then I would feel so guilty because I broke my own rule that the next day I would only smoke 1 cigar. And on the rare occasion that I would go a whole day without any cigar. And so, in a way, in my own way, I've adopted this because it keeps you make your own balance, right? So if it's for me, it was like have 2 beers, or I'm going to have, this is going to be my limit, and I'm going to stick to it. Now, could I break the rule? Yeah, but when I broke the rule, it's my own rule now. Me and God, or whatever you want to talk about, it's my rule, right? So I can break it any damn time I want. But it's whether or not I choose to. And it's go, you know what? I got this rule and I try to stick to it. So, but that's your own integrity, right? It's your own respect, your own honor to yourself, right? Because I've made this pact with myself, which kind of sort of means God and the universe. Okay, if you're that serious. But so what do you want to do about it? Well, I think, so I had, you know, I smoked a pack of cigarettes when I used to only smoke a half. Well, the next day I would literally be out of breath from smoking too much, and I'd feel guilty because I smoked a pack. That the next day I would go, nah, I'm not going to smoke that cigarette. Or lighten it up and taking 2 puffs and putting it out. I'd smoke the same cigarette like 4 times, right? Yeah, but here's the thing though, David. I used to be this way with cigarettes years ago, and I've somehow, but I've quit everything else. You know, it's like my last hardcore addiction, not counting weed, but my outside hardcore addiction, you know, it has been cigarettes. And so, but rather than smoke a pack a day, I've been averaging about a half. But my last birthday at 69, I keep rubbing this in, right? Um, that I'm like, I just have to do better. If one day I'm sitting around and I want to smoke more than a couple of cigarettes and it just happens to be one of them days, or like for example, somebody comes over and we're chatting and we're playing music or something, and the next thing you know, you smoked a half a pack of cigarettes in a couple of hours. But some of them have been laid in the ashtray, but to the point you did, right? So, but then I would always feel guilty the next day or so and go, I did smoke too much the other day, but it was a lot of fun. But I'm going to take back what I just mindlessly gave away the other day and say, which was control. Um, I used to stick to 2 or 3 cigarettes a day for a long time. And people would go, "Why don't you just quit?" And I was like, "Because my agreement is I get to have 2 or 3 a day, and damn it, I like them 2 or 3 cigarettes a day." And when I got off of work and got home and had drank my first beer, it was time for that cigarette. You hear me? And then I would wait till dinner, and after dinner, after having supper and the dishes and everything, to sit down and smoke that cigarette after eating that after dinner smoke. Oh my God, right? So, and then there was that one for, after all of this other stuff, before you smoke a doobie or a bowl or whatever, and you have that cigarette, that nicotine kicker at the end. And but them 3 cigarettes at that time of the day, you quit 5 years ago. See, I had quit 5 years ago or more, or actually further back, and picked it back up. You see, so for me, it's like a double whammy. I'm like sinning on against myself because I used to be better at this than I am now. You see what I'm saying? So I'm sort of reclaiming. But after that big bump on my head and everything, the personality change and all the seizures and everything that I went through, smoking came back in somehow through there, and it just became normal versus me taken back before the head injury, to where a half a pack of cigarettes a day was like a lot. So it was mostly about 4 cigarettes a day, which is about a third of a pack, actually. So 4 cigarettes a day, there's 20 cigarettes in a pack. So four times, uh, I was thinking 4 and 4 is 8, and 2 8s are 16. So 4 days on a pack of cigarettes. That's actually 5 days, right? 5 times 4 is 20 cigarettes, right? So at 4 cigarettes a day, you buy a pack of cigarettes that'll last me a week. And so now I'm looking at like a pack of 3 days for a pack of cigarettes. That should be my, like right now, my new goal, to stick to that instead of 2 packs. 1 pack for 2 days, right? So, okay, so my new goal that I've kind of already set a precedence now over this last week or so. Now, here's an interesting point of view I want to throw in here with this. And I know this isn't on topic for what but this is sort of a follow up. Um, and I showed you all this last week, I think, about the Meng Da Kratom. This is the silver vein. No, I'm sorry. It's silver in its name, but it's the green vein, for those of you who know anything at all about kratom. So I've been taking two of these a day for the last, I don't know, several days, right? And over these last several days, uh, and having one of these a day, one in the when I wake up, and then one later on in the evening. I don't know if I took my second one this evening, by the way, but to the point though, um, I gotta honestly say my craving or whatever for a cigarette has decreased. Now, is it in relationship to taking this? I'll let you know. But and I was only smoking a half a pack a day, so 10 cigarettes. Okay, that's one every 2 hours or something. Sometimes two in 1 hour. All right, but not very often. I'm not like sitting around just smoking, right? So, but my urge has gone down. I can honestly say quite a bit in that. If I smoke a half a cigarette, I'm like, I'm good. I don't have to smoke the whole thing. So, but in the last week, and also in the last week, I've been taking this. So, correlation, I don't know. I'll let you know. But, in keeping an eye on things, um, especially for any of you who are trying to do better and heal and be spiritual but being spiritual also affects the mental and the physical. Like yesterday, when I was laying concrete, I was kneeling on both knees for the first time, and I can't remember because my leg had gotten broken in high school. Many of you know about this, and I couldn't kneel on both of my knees for years. I mean, like for 45 years, I have not been able to bend my left leg entirely so that I could kneel on both legs, right? As part of the accident and the severity of my knee injury. And I was kneeling on my new porch out there, concrete and hard as hell on my knees, but I was kneeling on both knees and I was there and I was like, it has been a long time since I've been able to kneel on both knees and not be uncomfortable and scream and got to do something and get up because my knee would hurt so bad in that position. And so, it happened in like 1967. So here it is all these years later, and I have better control of my left knee than I have had since high school. So, I, can we get better? Can we improve with age? Can we, with exercise? And I'm talking about moderate exercise. I ain't no exercise fiend, but I do my stretches and I do walk, and me and Duggar do some things, and I'm out in the yard and doing stuff. So I stay active, um, and probably do some extra, pulling weeds and things and trees up and stuff that other people are like, I can't do that, and I'm only 50, right? So um, the idea that if you are spiritually better, I know myself, I have become physically better. I give you the direct correlation, or no? I can just say, and y'all that have known me for several years now, may have been able to see some of the changes. I know I look back and go, wow, I felt that way. But there's progress in all of this, right? So, but as I learned some things, the spirits say this needs to be shared. Everyone needs to be updated with this new kind of twist on things, or there's something new in the universe. And um, was 10 a pack in Canada really? 7 meds a day 2 3 years ago. Yeah. And I was taking at least 22 pills a day and sometimes more, and that was not counting uh, the vitamins that I took and other supplements. And now, um, after a lot of information about ibuprofen and and other things, what it does to your kidneys and so forth, and look on the back of an aspirin bottle, and on it is NSAID. It's not the aspirin that's killing folks, it's the NSAID. Oh, it's the equivalent of. Don't know what NSAID is, but I don't want to take it. Now, this stuff here, this kratom, and where it's coming from, is it any better than what the pharmaceutical folks are putting out? And what's it going to do to my liver or kidneys or whatever? Don't know. But I know that I've been taking ibuprofen for a good many years and a fairly decent dosage, trying to have kept up with it, have gotten off all these other drugs, and now I'm on a couple of ibuprofen a day versus a ton of it, right? I don't think I had an ibuprofen a day, and if I did, I had 200 milligrams. So that's like one aspirin, which ain't aspirin. But so if I take this though, and it helps with pain and discomfort, and some of these particular uh, brands or combinations, as I was reading, uh, non-steroidal, yeah, anti-inflammatory, yep. But that the different flavors of this kratom from different places and things, and the different blends on how they do it. So one of the quote side effects or the effects of this particular of the that particular type of kratom was also like a mood enhancer. So as I've been taking this, not I I don't know if this is the one that with the mood enhancer, but I have to say over about a week that I've been taking this, not that my mood has been bad, but I've had issues with my brain because of being hit in the head so many times, and have just you know uh, just literally narcolepsy. Okay, just sitting here watching TV or looking at something on the internet and then just get so sleepy, I just have to nod out, so it's not about being lazy or anything like that. It's been my condition for a long time. But I got to say, in the last few days since taking this, those feelings in that situation in my head has been different. So I have had to sit down a couple of times and just kind of like, take a look around. But 2 weeks ago, had I reached a particular point, I would have had to lay down for 5 or 10 or maybe 30 minutes and then get back up. For whatever reason, my brain says I need a break. I just, when it says bye bye, you got to lay down, right? So, but by taking this last, not quite a week, I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, and today's Friday. So, 6 days, that I have seen this subtle change in my behavior and condition and so forth. So I'll keep you all up to date because I think it's important, for those who suffer with these kinds of things. And I'm not sure if I think somebody at some point in the chat had said something about kratom before, and I did not have a clue, but I'm going to do much more research on it. And as soon as I get a ride back into Thomasville, I'm going to go by the store. And instead of buying these packs, which I find is a little expensive, now this is like $9 for this package of uh, 30. Yeah, 30 capsules. And so, but if you buy the powder, it's much cheaper, I understand. So I'm going to go and buy these. There's three different particular blends, and I'm going to buy whatever the smallest bag versus the capsules because it's cheaper if not without the capsules and just the other. A 10 pack, a pack is smokes. What's illegal there? Are you talking about the kratom? That's one of the things that I can't understand. Georgia, won't is still against, marijuana, but and some of the sheriffs around are going, they don't unless they don't want any they don't want their sheriff's deputies picking anybody up for smoking weed. They just they just don't want to have anything to do with it. The testing, the thing, because there are people who are doing, CBDs and this, that, the other thing. They don't want to go to court with it, and unless you got a pound of marijuana, they do not want to mess with you. Um, Now, for those of you who will hate Georgia, these are my current brand of cigarettes that I'm smoking are these the mid grade 305 blue 100s, and they're 365 a pack, and they just went up. They were like 330. And the other brand that I was smoking, uh, the Eagle, just went up to like 425 a pack. Which is another reason to not smoke when you're on limited income. You have to watch your money. Went into the store the other day to buy, dog food for Duggar. And dang if he don't eat better than I do with as much as dog food costs now. And plus I got all these cats that are in the yard. Um, but I've got one, God bless her little heart. She's white and black and almost like she's like two-tone. That's what I ought to call her. I ought to call her two-tone. But it's like a two-tone Chevy or a two-tone Caddy or something with white on the bottom and black on the top, two-tone. But Tommy Two Tones, or anyway. But so every day I walk up the driveway, unless it's pouring down rain or something. Uh, Eagle 20s are good. Yeah, the Eagles, that's what I was getting. The mid grade blue colored ones with them too. But the 305s, I really like them. But at the same time, I don't over smoke them. And they're one of the cheapest brands to buy. But here's the thing, I've got papers and I buy pipe tobacco in different quantities and in different, and so I roll my own too. So this idea that I have to buy cigarettes is like it's more for convenience, but I've got I've got rollers, I've got, but I'm an old hippie from way back and been in jail a couple of times and, rolled with buglers, when you couldn't get it, when you could in prison, they call it a square. When you couldn't get a square, right, you would roll in your own. And my first wife, she could roll a cigarette in one hand between her two fingers and her thumb, like they did in the cowboy movies. Because the man she used to work for, Mr. Paul, way back in the day, back in the '60s and early '70s, um, he was like, Trisha, roll me one. Trisha, roll me one. And she just would get the paper and take a little tobacco and sprinkle on it and just literally just roll it up, lick it like that and roll it right up. And there'd be this, it wouldn't look like a joint, with pointy ends, but it looked like a cigarette. And she was really good at it. So when we got married, it was like, Trish, roll us one, and she'd sprinkle and just like that, there'd be one right there. Me, I got to take two hands, but and I've had one of the machines that I loved the best was the old top machines, that the old kind that had this rubber mat on it. You'd push down on this end, and to roll a cigarette, you would literally, it was a big slider machine about this long, had a handle on it, and it'd roll it up, and about halfway up, you'd put the paper in it, and then finish rolling it down, and it would pop it out on the end. And used to love rolling with them things, man. Um, Use a dollar bill. I haven't done that in a while, but I used to do that a lot too. These kind that you put it in and it shoves it in the cigarette thingy, nah. But um, now I've got some of those little those little rolling machines, that are really good. I'm the blunt and joint roller in my house. Now you see, I don't like blunts. I don't like mixing my tobacco and my other. I know I got kinfolk that love blunts, and they get the blunt wrappers and stuff. And I'm sorry, I will take a couple of hits off, but I'm not gonna smoke a blunt all the way down with you. I'm just not, because I just would rather. If I'm going to smoke a cigar, I'm going to smoke a cigar. If I'm going to smoke a joint, I'm going to smoke a joint. But and I'll take a hit off a cigar and then take a hit off the joint. But to smoke the two of them together in a blunt, it has never appealed to me. Now, all you folks out there that love it, you go right ahead. But it's just not my favorite. It's very low on my favorite things, right? Need doing. We got to get to 4D first. The Top Gambler. But anyway, and see, I'm mostly over the years, especially in conservation, I was a pipe smoker with tobacco long time before I became a pipe smoker with weed. I had the chrome machine, but I just wrap herbs in the cigar paper. Yeah, I understand. I just don't. I just don't like the tobacco mixed in with my others. I want the tobacco or I want the other. It's just me. It's just me. But that's the way I am about it. I mean no disrespect to anybody. Lots of folks I know just love to smoke a blunt, and y'all just go ahead. I'll take a hit or two, but me and one of my buds rolled up one the other day, and it we made it 2 papers long, so the joint was about this long, and looked like a cigarette. That big around. Boy, did it smoke good. We're going to come up on another 20. I've been here another hour, ain't I? Oh my God. In Trinidad, they take half the paper, fill it with weed, and put it on top of the cigarette. Oh, yeah, spliffs. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, see, now I used to do that. We used to take, when we were, um, back in the day, I smoked Benson and Hedges Light. And I smoked menthol light for a while, and then I just went with the light and quit the menthol business. If y'all are smoking menthol, it's really bad on your lungs. But anyway, so we'd take out about that much out of the end of one of them. Benson and Hedges was one of the first 100s, and then other companies were doing it. But most of the time, you just got the regulars. But anyway, we would take out a good portion of the cigarette. Uh, and fill it full of weed and backfill it with just a dab of tobacco. And, we got really good at it. We'd take a pack of smokes and sit around with the weed, and it'd be all crumbled up and everything. So, 2 for 9 white owls. Now, see, I would rather just have the white owls. Are you talking about the? Yeah, well, see, for us, we did it because we would put our that we would take the cigarettes with us, and like in a concert or someplace in public, you could take out one of your spliffs if it's what we were doing, and light the end of that thing, and there were two puffs in it that was pure weed on the end. It wasn't mixed. But so the weed was going through the tobacco. That's true. So whatever tar that was coming off the weed was getting mixed in with the tobacco. So, but you two good puffs at the end of each cigarette, right? And then it was all tobacco the rest of the way. But there would be people who'd turn around and look and go, I smell weed. And the only thing they'd see would be people with cigarettes. And then about the time they smelled it, they wouldn't smell it and it would just go away. So we did it so we could get away with smoking in public without smoking in public. So, and it wasn't about getting high with the tobacco or whatever, it was cheating. It was so we could smoke in public, you know, a black and mild cigar. It does it. Right, right. Dump out the white owl. See, and I'd rather just smoke the white owl. you know. But anyway, um, that used to be one of them cigars, a good white owl cigar. And I learned it, I know I keep saying black men, black women, black this, Asian or whatever, versus white. But it means more different to me in that there have been these old black gentlemen, and I say this with utmost respect because they put on their Sunday go to meeting clothes on Sunday, they or Saturday evenings, and they're polite. They wear a hat. They tip their hat to the ladies, and they smoke these cigars, right? But they're cool. Honestly, they are styling and profiling when they smoke these stogies. Do you hear me? I mean it. And saw a gentleman just the other day, and I was like, see him right there? I said, now he's styling. You see that black gentleman right there? You see how he's styling? He had his brogans on. He had a shoe. He was styling, man. But he had himself this cigar. And I don't know if it was a white owl or not, but to the point though. But it was like, it was like, sit down, boy, and have a white owl, and let's talk about things. And they would sit down very gentlemanly like, now these black gentlemen's, right? And that, and I say that because there are some white gentlemen that would never have associated with these black gentlemen, but having listened and sat and smoked a white owl with them, and they would, and they might have they might have a pouch of some whiskey or something nearby, but they don't get drunk, but they are tipsy. Okay, they're tipsy, just enough to where you can tell they're like, but how are you today, Mr. Dave? Well, I'm fine, Leroy. How are you? Well, and he just be slurring just because he's had that little, and he just take a nip and put the top back on, very respectfully. And so, but it was with these gentlemen that you sit down and smoke a white owl, and the pleasure of and at the time the white owl was a good cigar. So, and me and my pops had smoked white owls, but to the point though, it was how you sat down and smoked that white owl, and there was a gentlemanliness about smoking it, and how, and I just respected it, always have, but anyway, I got off on a tangent. I got stoned. It's 3:11. Is that true? I'm here for another hour. I wasn't doing nothing else anyway. I like backwoods, preferably nowadays for a cigar. Cohiba blunts are good. Yeah, and for me growing up in Tampa and stuff, uh, you know, there were several different types of habitampas, and they have a habitampa that we used to smoke all the time. Now I haven't smoked a cigar in a while, but I can't afford cohibas and these others. There's a local smoke shop, but they're like 6 to 8, $10 for a cigar, and I'll pay, $10 for a 4 or 5 pack of cigars. But I'm sorry, I can't afford, the cost of these other cigars. As much as it's nice to have one once in a while, um, not lately for me. Mary Wiz, how are you, dear? It's 3:12 a.m. here in the morning time on a Friday morning. It is 11/12/2021. You're riding with Hawkeye Two Feathers, aka David Null, and all his friends and neighbors here in the chat room, along with Mary Wins and Travis the Brick and David Castle and many others. So if you're just tuning in or still hanging out, we love you for hanging out, and I'm just here yakking because I got stoned, and but I still want to pass the love around, and we have these conversations. Sometimes when I get done, I turn off the camera and computer, and I go, "What the hell did I just talk about?" Like what? I'm a rambling man. I'm a gambler. No, we were talking about rolling papers and stuff like that. But puff pass. Yeah, I need to refill mine. It's been here for a while now, and I keep hitting it. But since I'm obviously going to stay for the 20 now. Um, but anyway, to kind of sort of follow up what I was talking about the kratom earlier. The next time I get to go down to the local store, and a friend of mine said, "Well, why don't you see if you can buy it online? You probably get it cheaper." And I said, here's the thing, and I have always been this way. And if I can find somebody, and I really liked that, here I go again with, Black Lady, but absolutely delightful. Well, to me, she is a young Black lady behind the counter, very helpful, very polite, and I'm gonna go do business with her and the business. You know what I mean? Versus online stuff. Okay, it could come in the mail or blah 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 blah. But I've always appreciated um, the the personal touch. So there's a place in Moultrie called Bale Mercantile. I bought my first wood heater from them. They were one of the first people to ever give me credit, and I still have credit with them after you know almost 50 years of living here in Moultrie, right? So, or in this area. So, um, I take that, so I like that personal rapport with a local business. If they've gone to the trouble to open up a store and show up every day and provide these things and stuff, then the least I can do for, in my humble opinion, is support the local crowd. You know what I mean? And so there are other people that need CBD oils, and there are other people that need these kratoms, and there are other people that need these services. So um, I would rather be able to buy them locally when I go into town once a month or whatever, and pick up my supply and support the local businesses versus a someplace off somewhere that I don't know these people. But having met the lady behind the counter, um, you know, and I say black lady because there are some folks that are saying, well, they think all these folks who are in these shops and so are like white people. No, and I'm saying it because she was very respectful, and some people think that, well, black people can't be respectful, or black people are always snotty, or So I want to make sure that, why am I emphasizing black? Because she was very kind and very generous and because I'm white or whatever, didn't matter. The conversation was wonderful, and I say it because we got along, and people can get together and get along regardless of what our color is. So I bring it up because I see, it's not two people talking, it's two people, but also representing two races. And I think it's a positive thing. So I make reference to it. Why do you always say black woman or black man or something? Because it's not just another person, it's another race, and we get along, is my point. And we can, and it doesn't take much to get along, and people are willing to get along. Well, them black people or them white people, wait, we need to change that. But I know I do say it, and I've questioned myself, but it's because I give honor to those folks. You know, they honor their race, they honor their people because they have of how they have simply are good people, and because of that, they kind of shine through all by themselves. They're not out there toting a flag, but there's some wonderful black people. You know, I give them honor. Salute. But anyway, so are we coming up on that 20? It's 18, right? Yeah. Roll another one, just like the other one, and then pass it over to me. Roll, roll, roll a joint, pass it down to me. Light it again and puff some more. Happy, happy, happily. Am I on a time lag here? Come on, it's 2 minutes. I was, for some reason, I hadn't really been paying much attention to like time. And I did a video the other day about the time warp, and I didn't really go into it as much as I actually really wanted to. I think I got stoned along the way. It's all y'all's fault. But I was, and watching football games, which is something else. Is like, for years I refused to watch a football game on television, right? And this, I think, is because they made it such a big deal last year, and nobody could watch, and the college games were all messed up, and that this year I've been really having a good time watching some of these football teams, and they have played some excellent, excellent football, even in the rain. But anyway, but here's my thing though, but watching the clock, right? Well, they've got 30 seconds, a 30-second timeout. Okay. Then they go to commercial break and they do a thing and they come back, and it's like, it seems like it's been an hour, right? This is the time warp. It's only been, I watched the clock, it's been less than a minute. And in my brain, I'm like, when are we going to get back to the ball game? This is taking forever. It has been 60 whole seconds. And my brain is wanting the football game to start, But so then watching the thing, they drove down the field. They had 7 plays, and it only took them 45 seconds or something like that. Going, what? So, but then there are things that take 45 seconds, but when you watch it on television, um, it takes 20 minutes. It's 3:20. Here's to you all. Salute. And to all those who can't or would like to, honor and salute to you. And it's 4:20 somewhere because it's 3:20 here. Now, see, if we were still on daylight savings time, it would be 4:20 because it'd be an hour sooner. But anyway, So my curiosity, cheers to you too. Um, so in watching the football games and watching how many seconds and minutes, seconds, that I've seen, I've watched a couple of football games. Within the last minute and 30 seconds, they have fumbled the ball, retrieved it, run another touchdown, and done a field goal. And now they're in overtime. And after 9 overtimes, they win by a field goal. And like, what? I mean, there's been some phenomenal stuff that takes place in a few seconds, literally in a football game. 222. Yeah, three. Yep, 322 here. So it has been some interesting football, but it's also my watching the clock and my perception of like, okay, let me close my eyes and see if I can guess what 30 seconds is. Like, mute the TV and then close my eyes and then say, okay, when I think 30 seconds is up, I unmute the TV and open my eyes and find out if it's been 30 seconds and the game's back on. Now, this is just a hey region. So, never mind. Um, I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. But in the reality of things, in the time warp thing, I was like, man, it's only been watching the clock and they're doing this thing and the 30 seconds, the 30-second clock, play clock, right? And I'm like, that 30 seconds seems like a long dang time for some reason in my head. That 30 seconds is like a minute and a half. No, my perception is that somehow, for whatever reason, and watching the activity and the ball players and everything, I played football and I've been on the field, and you got to get ready, set everybody within 30 seconds. So the feel of it when I played ball and watching it on television after all these years of not playing it, etc., and having that connection, that 30 seconds, it's the time thing. And so, in watching other things and commercials and stuff, and like how much time has gone by. And now I've been here for 2 hours and 52 minutes, and it only seems like about an hour and a half, you know. So, in this time warp thing, you doing okay there, Regen? In this time warp thing, I don't know if I'm sure it's my perception of time. Okay. I won't doubt that. But how my perception has kind of warped to, if you're really interested in a program and, you're 5 minutes into it and there's a commercial break, you know, and you go, wow, the movie or the series or whatever it is in that 5 to 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, um, between breaks is a lot, the content, that's a long time. Okay. So a lot of folks like to put more commercials in, but anyway, so 7 minutes at a long run before you hit that commercial break. So, but in that intensity of it, if it's a really good 5 to 7 minutes, it can feel like a half an hour, right? If it's really bad, you can't wait till that 5 minutes is up and the commercial comes. Then it seems like that 5 minutes is an hour. You see where I'm coming from? Now, do I have any solution? No, it's my observation, but how it will work both ways. So if it's really good and really intense, you go, wow, that was really quick. And that was 7 minutes. Oh, holy crap. It was so exciting. It was so whatever. And it's a commercial break. Then there are times when it's the same 7 minutes, but it seems like 10 or 12 or 15. And you go, wow. And now, is it because you were stoned? Maybe. But, what difference does it make? it's an action show, or whether it's a murder mystery and it's really intense and your brain gets in it. So the clips, the movies, or whatever, and sometimes it's stories on the radio, because I've listened to a lot of old radio from back in the way back in the day. Any kind of radio program, I love listening to, with murder mystery or whatever, and there's some great ones out there too, let me tell you. So I grew up with old radio and listening to old radio. And of course, we had black and white TV, but we didn't have many movies or whatever when I was growing up. But I had radio programs, and that were still being on the air, because, in the early 60s, radio was still a big deal back in them days. And but anyway, so listening to the commentary and the tone of voice and how the voices get you drawn into the story and everything, graham crackers and peanut butter. Ooh, yeah, graham crackers. We used to just crunch up graham crackers and pour milk and a little dag of sugar on it, or some honey, and eat it like cereal. Been my pleasure. Somebody mutual friend. It's been my pleasure. Somebody mutual. Like, well, cheers right back at you, Regen. I'm glad you can come and hang out with us. I do. I honestly, I'm very humbled and honored that you all show up and we can hang out. I know Barry and I were talking about it on the phone the other day. And he goes, he said, I'm sitting there with it. And he goes, I ain't going to lie. He says, I fell asleep a time or two. And I was like, I know, bud, it's okay. And he goes, he said that he was talking about a previous video. And he goes, you said, well, everybody, I'm going to say good night. And he goes, and an hour later, you bring in another 20. And I said, now here I am again. Now it's been 3 hours, and I was like, at 2 hours, I'm kind of getting a little tired, and I was like, I'll just let y'all go, and been nice hanging out with you. And here now it's been another dead gum hour. But I really do like sharing with y'all and hanging out with y'all, and I do consider it an honor. But with that said, but with all these other things, um, I know when I was talking about the Kratom earlier and going to the local business, I'm hoping that most of you will find that there are some, that's important, because so many people have gone off. They get it delivered. They don't go to the store. They don't. It's this contactless, stuff. And how proud it is. You see, I can get this delivered to my house, and I don't even have to talk to nobody. Don't have to see them. Don't have to touch them. Don't have to give them nothing. They just put it on my door. And I'm like, oh my God, how, society, I don't want to see you, don't want to touch you, don't want to smell you, don't want to, get a whiff of your perfume, or lousy aftershave, as the case may be, for men or women. But um, I've known some women who like, Old Spice, but that's another story. uh, hey, hey, blow the man down. I'm sorry, pirates. And if I lived near, I would be bringing you food a lot. Would you? I would take it, but uh, I used to cook for people too, and I've just gotten out of all of this stuff, and um, but I'm sustainable, but to share a meal with somebody, and you know especially if it's some really good cooking. and and Miss Pearl, I bet uh but thank you. The thought is much welcome. Julie Ann, oh my God, my man is dinner. You too. See, now hanging out for just a minute just to have Julianne to show up and, to show up and wave and be a part of the group. I made slow cooked bourbon pork chops. Oh my goodness. Baked mac and cheese and smashed with ooh, child, please. Now see, that's a meal. That's an honest to goodness. Now that's a meal. Like right now, um, it's time for some collard greens, right? I don't have any growing yet. That's my fault. But I've been working on all these other projects. But I've got a little spot out front here. I was working on again tonight, cleaning out all the weeds, and there's all these other kinds of things that grow in there. So I got some mustard and collard seeds that I'm going to spread because it's that time of year down here. So, but there are folks who started collards 30 days ago, kind of thing, in 1st of October. But they always say collards ain't good till you get the first frost on them. Well, it's going to be in the mid 30s this, I don't know, Sunday, Monday, Saturday night, Sunday. Anyway, it's going to be chilly. So those kind of greens and stuff are going to be tasting mighty good. But so some good collards and or mustards, or for me, I like to mix some collards and mustards together. But the collards for me are the better of the two. And there are those folks who love turnips too. I don't like the turnip bottoms much, um, but I have eaten them and will eat them if I had to. And a lot of folks just love turnips, right? The root, and I was more for the tops. Uh, I fried hamburgers in butter and lard. I didn't do any card readings tonight. That's for another night coming up soon. I've been doing a lot of concrete work and stuff, a lot of physical labor around here, and I have been just dogged tired, quite frankly. Today, me and the dog took the day off, more me than he did, but and it's been raining off and on, which we got last time I checked, we got you know about five, let's see, half inch, 7/10 of rain, and it's rained. Yeah, but I promised to do one soon. Honest. Um, After I purchased all this concrete and my concrete mixer and everything, um, I needed to do a lot of digging for on the footer and so forth, which took me way longer and much harder digging in this frickin' hard ass Georgia red clay. Let me tell you. But I had to get because I knew we were going to have rain for a couple days, and all the cement that I had run the risk of getting wet. And every time a bag of cement got wet, it ended up in the driveway or something. It didn't end up in my on the. So I've had issues with the rain soaking the bag of cement and it turning hard on me. So I have missed a lot of bags of cement because of that. And I had just was hell bent for election. I was going to mix all the cement I could before the rain got here. And I did. And it looks good. So, that's all good news for me. And I've got a couple of bags of mortar mix. And the next thing I need to do, I've been finishing up on the outside of the foundation. And most of what I've been doing is all going to be backfilled. There's 2 foot underground. But it has kept water and roots and things from getting back to the major part of the house, which caused an influx of water from the ground up into my floor in the kitchen. And as I've done this work on the house, um, I didn't have the kitchen flood this year. And this last summer, it rained all the time. In the past, my kitchen would have been flooded. So all this work that I've done has proven good and well and is working. So I'm getting close to the end of all this foundation and down in the ground, digging and pouring and everything. So and it's extra thick and extra wide, but I wanted to make sure that the the roots from the trees out here that aren't close to the house, but they're still too close. In digging out the foundation, because it's been a couple of months since I poured any cement out there, I noticed that the roots were already finding cracks in the cement, that where I left off, and was already, digging into the cement. And I'm going, no. That was the whole point of putting all the cement there, was so that the roots wouldn't get into the foundation. And here, after 6 months, 5 months, the roots are already got big clumps, in the concrete. So I had to chop them all out and pour extra concrete to cover up some of these spots. So, and and I'm talking 16 inches under the ground, down in the ditch. So this ain't like right on top or whatever. But anyway, uh, hug one another. Yeah, I heard the song the other day. How it puts a smile on everybody's face. Who can bring the sunlight? Sparkle do. Down da 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 da, Candyman can, Candyman. Oh, the Candyman can, Candyman can, does the do, make the world go round. I can't almost remember the words. But but anyway, with the foundation and everything. But that's the reason why I haven't done another reading or anything. I've been working on the house. But uh, the good news is that I'm almost there and a lot of foundation work done. And then on my final uh, two courses are brick on the outside of the block, to give it that rustic look. And but there's only going to be like a brick and a half that actually shows up above the ground. So all this work that I'm doing ain't even going to be seen, but I know it's there and I know what it's doing. I know what it has done. So, you know, all this work, I'm going to take a few pictures and some video and say, see, this is how much shit I've done. Now I'm fixing to cover it all up. that's that's hopefully within a couple of days. So anyway, it has been a joy to hang out with you all. Uh, yeah, hug one another and at least shake hands or bump elbows or something, and support your local businesses. Having been away from local businesses myself for the last couple of years because of all this other stuff, uh, it's time that we just get back to normal. Support our local businesses. I mean, it's great to buy stuff online, but if you can go into the store and make that effort and go be personal with somebody and support them and say hi to them and learn their name. Hey, John. Hey, Frankie. Hey, Jennifer, which was that lady's name, which is the same name as my niece. And so, hey Jennifer, how are you today? I'm here you know, to see your product and show me what you got and support your local business. And you know, we can support things in a lot of ways, but that's communication with local people, that support of local people on a local level. That's a one to one to one to one versus buying something online all the time, simply because it's a little cheaper. Okay. But if you can support a local business, it may be just slightly a little bit more, but you're reaching out to people, local families, local people, you want to have an impact, there you go. Support your local, especially the independent businesses. So, how do you help the world? You go support some of these folks with your business. After 40 some years or more, actually, of having worked and having done business with Bale Mercantile in Moultrie, Georgia. There are still people who work there who still call me by my first name. Hi, David. How you doing? Now, to me, that makes me want to go back to that store. Are the prices a little high? A little, but not obnoxiously. And to go in and have them say, "Hi, how you doing today?" And you say, "Hi, how are you? How's your family? How's your kids? How's your grandkids now after all these years?" And so Bale Mercantile started out. It was the Bale brothers back in the 30s, 40s thing, way back, that started this hardware store. And I mean, they literally had everything you could think of in that store. I mean, nooks and crannies, and they still got a bunch of stuff in that store. But farm, seed, feed stuff, this, that, and the other thing. Fencing. You can order stuff. I mean, I ordered my big cast iron stove from them. They've got them on display. They've got regular hardware, and they're a true value dealer. They've got a little small gunsmith shop in the back where I bought my Benjamin air rifle. So I mean, but they're the local business. There are local people who work there, and by supporting that local business, yes, it's a true value affiliate, but it's a local business, right? And folks I've known for 30, 40 years still work there, and to me, it's a joy to see that my patronage, they still have a job. They like working there because they like meeting all these people. Hi, Dave. How you doing? Hey, Joe. I'll be right with you. Let me take care of Mr. Dave here. And and so they enjoy the work they do. So for whatever pay they're getting, I don't know. That's not my business. But the fact that they're still there, the business is still alive. There are people in the community that still go to that hardware store, and that they are friendly and they like to go there. So to me, that makes a big difference versus, there's Home Depot and there's Lowe's almost side by side each other out on the bypass. But then there are those people who are true to go to Bales. It's a local business. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go, I'm going down to Bales. Okay. Well, it could have went to Home Depot. Yeah, but I'm just going to go down to Bales, you know. So, but anyway, to me, there is something to that. So, and this day and time now, here's sort of the quandary of this. There are people that I know that I worked at a different business with over the years who now work at Lowe's in Moultrie, and they worked in manufacturing before the plants closed down. So that, to say that, well, I'm supporting a local business. Well, it's a Lowe's, it's a chain store, but there are people that I know. My brother used to work at Lowe's, and I've known people that I knew through him, right, over the years. Moultrie's not that big a town. And so there are people that I've known who've worked in Lowe's and some of these other, like at Home Depot. So if I go to those stores, aren't I supporting my local friends and neighbors, even though it's a big box store? Aren't I still supporting them? Because by doing business there, they've got a job, even though it's Home Depot or Lowe's. But to the same point, though, there are those family businesses, after seeing several of them go under in these last 2 years, that were thriving before. Okay. I want to say, Lowe's and Home Depot and all that, that's all really good and nice. But if there's a local business, go use them. You know what I mean? Honestly, go use them. And not to spite anybody, or, to hell with Walmart, or to hell with, that's not what I mean. The small business that's been trying to make it, if you can, you know, because small town America, and America, I mean, Home Depot still is America, right? But the idea that you're really helping out the local hardware store, or the local plumber, or the local whatever it may be, that's how we, that's how we stay together in the future. because those folks in the tribe, there are some folks in other communities, in smaller communities. Everybody knows each other. And they call up and say, "Hey, Bill, I need some brakes on my car. When can you get to it?" "Well, Thursday looks good to me." "All right, I'll drop it by." "Okay." And so Thursday, he drops his vehicle by, and Joe or Bill or whoever, fixes his brakes, and he comes by after work and picks up his car, and everything's fine. The mechanic does good work. He's trusted, and he's friends with the guy who dropped his vehicle off. So, good work, trust, honor, respect, you know what I mean? It sticks with the same theme of things. When we bring honor and respect and trust into the situation, but if you're dealing with somebody that you don't really ever know, then do you ever have that trust or whatever? So local business, handshakes, and so forth. But anyway, so I've had enough, and I know y'all have had enough too. 3:47 a.m. on 11/12/2021. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and I wanted to do something then, but I was just so tired I couldn't. But my granddaughter is a veteran of the Navy. My brother is a veteran of the Navy. My pops, Arno, was a veteran of the Navy. And several other people that I've known over the years who are veterans of, different armed forces, Marines. I've known several Marines, several folks in the paratroop, in airborne, Army airborne kind of thing, so commando type folks. And so to all them folks who have spent time in their lives and their careers to do what they did, my hat's still off. Um, I'm not a military person, but having at one time, before my leg accident, I wanted to be a Marine, for whatever reason. And then I saw people coming back in body bags from Vietnam War and changed my mind. But to the point though, I can see the honor and the camaraderie of those people in the troops and so forth. And I think I wanted to join because of that, not necessarily for war, but to fight for peace because they still believe in that. But now instead of using a gun, we have conversations together and we spread peace and love between us. So I wish you all a good morning, a good afternoon. And if I don't see you before then, the next few days is going to be a little sort of be rainy or whatever. But then it's going to get cold, and I got to make sure I've got some firewood. So depending on how things go, I'm going to be wanting to snuggle around the fire and maybe do some card readings for folks. So stay with me in the next couple of days this weekend, and I'll see about doing some card readings. So I love you all, and as always, I continue to pray that each and every day that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all of your relatives and relations will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many blessings in and from the universe. And in that law of two, with Duggar and I, when we put on our shoes and go outside and greet the day, and we remember that we pray that each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And in that law of three, which honestly, truly is important to me, is that each and every day I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and many, 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 many blessings from the universe, and that you will continue to reject the chaos that comes into your mind. And remember, we live on a volatile planet. We live on a planet with volcanoes and storms and tornadoes and snow and ice. And by the way, people are talking about how damn cold it is. Listen, I remember back in the 50s and the 60s when it was damn cold. It snowed in Tampa, okay? Tampa hadn't had any snow in a long time. This idea that for some reason it's extra cold now, bananas. I've been here living at this place, and I remember when it got to 9 degrees here one time. It hasn't been 9 degrees here in over 25 years. Okay. It used to get down in the teens every year. It hasn't been in the teens in years down here. It used to get into the 20s frequently. We've only touched 29 a couple of times last year. This idea that somehow it's so much colder is bullshit. Okay. So stay positive energy, but all these people that are selling you this stuff about how cold it is and how it, listen, I'm old enough. I remember here that no, it has not been cold like it has been in my lifetime. I'm sorry that what they're selling out there and trying to keep everybody in some kind of paranoid state. And oh, the cold down here in the south, and it's like bullshit. I remember when it was 9 degrees, the pipe stayed frozen for days, and that was even underground pipes. And pipes were breaking and freezing. Thomasville, you couldn't buy a stick of pipe of any kind for like 2 weeks. People were out of water and stuff. We hadn't had any kind of stuff like that happen in a long time. Well, in 30 years. But the thing is that people say, well, it's never happened. It's never been that cold. It used to be all the time. So this idea that somehow, oh, it's so much colder now. Nah, I'm sorry, but I'm old enough to remember that, back in the 90s and 80s, it was brutally cold. No, pipes bursting everywhere. And people, I'm sorry, we haven't had that in a while. So, but I expect it may be coming back. So, could it get cold again? Yes, but is it cold right now like it used to be? The answer is no. Please don't buy into it. Please. They want to inflate the numbers and keep you all in some kind of chaos. So, yes, we're going into wintertime. Snuggle up. I'm going to cut some more firewood, and I need to split some. That the logs are too long to go on my stove. So, but it have been leftovers from last year. So I still have some firewood, but there's some other I need to cut down to be ready in the next month or so. Because I'll be needing it. I'm sure the coldest months down here are usually December and January, and sometimes February. But December, January is coldest down here. Um, So this is just a cold spell. Until the next live, love you and high vibe. Thank you, David. And I love you all. Cheers, everybody. Thumbs up. And just remember, do the best you can and help out where you can. But please don't stretch yourself too thin. That's bad on the people you're trying to help, and it's bad on you trying to help them. So, and be wise enough and ask the spirits to help you with that solution and decision. But please don't overstretch yourself or overtax. Well, I can do it. And well, yeah, but should you? That's the other positive thing. And you have to keep that in mind. So I love you all. Be safe. And until next time, TTFN from South Georgia. Ta for now. Bob, we love you. Thank you. The coffee was a little weak tonight, but we love you. Be safe, y'all. Stay warm. Yeah, it's going to get chilly in the next few days or so. So be safe. And if somebody else is cold, help them out. If you got an old jacket or something you can help them with, pass it along. So, love you all. Be safe. Till next time. Adios, amigos and amigas.